And hello again, everybody. Welcome in to DVD here on 1025 The Game. Willie Donick here with you. Derek Mason is with us. We are one letter short today because Adam Vingan will be out, taking a little time off from the show, and he will be back with us next week. And so I'm not going to say it, D-Mace, because everybody chuckles, but we are, should we say D squared today, Derek and Donick.
Microphone is working. Is it
Yeah,
working?
there you
Yeah,
go,
there we
D-Mace.
go. It's perfect. Hey, man, listen. Willie, if you could see me now, I don't know if you can see me now, but if you could see me now, hey, man, I'm owning the world right now, Willie. I got my sunglasses on. I walked in here and I told Nick, I said, I got the place to myself. I feel like
You got a free run. You got all the remotes.
hey,
You
it's
got
like
multiple
dun dun
TVs.
dun 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 dun. I started to just walk in with my t-shirt and my tighty whities, man. You put your old records on the shelf.
I sent you guys the clip. That movie
Yes.
came on. Risky Business came on randomly the other day. You ever have just one of a movie that you haven't seen forever just pops up on a station, all of a sudden you stop what you're doing. You're like, I haven't seen
Yes.
this forever. I'm watching this. That's what happened with Risky Business the other day with Tom Cruise, because we were giving Adam a hard time a few weeks ago, maybe it was a couple months ago, when he knew he was going to be alone for the weekend. His
Mm-hmm.
wife and child, Arlo, were going to be out of there. Bridget and Arlo were out for the weekend, and he had the free run of the house. And we just envisioned the famous scene of the Bob Seger and Adam sliding around the house, nobody around. You could do anything you want.
And that's how I feel right now, Willie.
So that's what you have right now in the station.
Exactly. That's what I
But the problem
have.
is Nick can see you. So if you
Yeah,
go
Nick and
with the
Emily are
shirt
on the
and
other
no
side.
pants
So
like
that's
Tom Cruise, that could be a problem.
they
Nick's
be
going to see
calling
that.
me in HR. Like, yeah, Derek, I know what you're trying, I know what you're getting at, but we have some rules and regulations around here. So but that's how I feel. I feel like Tom Cruise right about now in Risky Business, man.
Okay. Uh, so did you watch the hockey game last night?
Yes, man. And listen, again, I saw PK Subban was on ESPN. You see ESPN now, they're really trying to promote it because they understand, man, this is a hell of a series. But they're not getting the ratings that they feel they deserve, considering what type of series it has been between Edmonton and Florida. But man, oh man, Willie, I tell you, I want some of those players that Florida has. I take the ones that Edmonton has as well. But boy, oh boy, when you talk about skill, physicality, like attention to detail, precise, they're like a Ginzu knife out there, man. The way they are just they and this is why I asked you and Adam the question yesterday. Like, who will this brand of play get to first? Would it get to Edmonton or would it get to Florida? It's apparent now that it's gotten to Edmonton. So much so, I mean, Edmonton is just in disarray. Marsha, what's his name? Marchand or
Brad Marchand. Yeah.
Marchand, after scoring, he skated past their bench and was like, think, man, y'all are he basically saying, y'all are not playing within yourselves. Everything right now is in your head. Y'all are doing things that y'all probably never even thought about doing. Y'all are taking unnecessary penalties. Y'all playing bully ball without the ball. It's like y'all trying to play bully hockey without the puck. And Florida's playing it, but they got the puck in their hand or they got the puck on their stick. And they are just putting it to Edmonton. Last night may have just been an outlier as far as how lopsided it was. But man, there's nothing in me that says Edmonton wins this series. Nothing whatsoever.
It really looked like Florida pushed Edmonton to the limit on the things you're talking about. And one term from the hockey lore is dark arts.
Uh-huh.
And that is the ability to bully, basically, and just be better at it.
Mm-hmm.
It can drive you crazy. And I've seen teams do it. And Florida is as good as I've seen at being able to have the skill and the focus to play the hockey, but also do all of the shenanigans that drive the other team crazy and draw penalties. So the lack of discipline by Edmonton was the difference in the game last night, and they unraveled. All those penalties in the first period, Edmonton has got, as we know, one of the most lethal power plays going,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't really take advantage when they had the chance. And then by the end of the night, Edmonton was so flustered, they gave Florida the last, unless there was one late, they had 10 power plays. 10. And of course, by the end of the game, it just became a complete slugfest.
Yeah.
No, they just like, I don't even care what happens from here on out. I'm just going to start taking some cheap shots. We're just going to say we're not going to take this anymore. But you could see Florida, they invite that. Go
Yes.
ahead. You want to do that? We're tougher than you guys. And somebody on your team is going to get hit. You notice they kept McDavid and Draisaitl out of that part of it
Yes.
at the end.
Woo.
But basically, everybody else on the Oilers was like, I don't care if you just take your stick and break it over the guy's ribs, or
Do
you just tip
anything.
a guy, jump on top of him, because they don't want to, they can't really out tough and out fight him. So they just had to try to deliver a message. I don't think that Edmonton came out ahead in that.
No, and maybe because of what you're saying, and it seemed like it was evident toward the end of the game. And it's crazy when you have someone like McDavid and Draisaitl that you get dominated. That's like having Pippen and Jordan and you're getting dominated in the series. It's like, come on, seriously? But you saw it was apparent toward the end what Edmonton was doing. Is there anything the league can do about that? Because it's like, we're going to take our best two players out, so they're not a part of all of this, and we just going to go haywire. We basically are out there like mercenaries.
That's a good question. There's the only thing they can do is they can have supplementary discipline if they thought something was out of line. You notice Wes McCauley, who is the
Mm-hmm.
most charismatic referee, right? He loves to get the crowd going when he turns that ref mic on. A lot of those refs would rather not have the mic
Mm-hmm.
and not have to say anything. They're shy. Wes McCauley really enjoys having the mic, but you notice what he started doing? He just started everybody that got out of line in the third period, he just gave him a 10-minute misconduct and
Yeah.
said, "You're done. You're done for the night." So that probably ends it there. The one move that I wondered about
Mm-hmm.
was Evander Kane had that one play where he kind of swiped back. He saw that the guy was down
Mm-hmm.
for Florida, and he was skating by, and he gave him a little bam with his stick. And it could have been a dangerous play. I think he hit him in the side of the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't too bad, but that ignited a lot of other stuff. So they might fine Evander Kane. I'd be stunned if they suspended him. But I think the message has been sent by Edmonton. We're not going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
But Florida is also, I think, really emboldened, saying, "Oh, is that all you got? We're going to keep playing this way, whether you like it or not. And if you want to continue to chase us, so be it. Take your mind off of hockey, and if you want part of your mind to be on, can you get retribution on Sam Bennett and those guys?" And it drives you crazy because Sam Bennett and Marchand and some of these guys, they've got it down to a science how to initiate, get under your skin, and still play great, right? Who's making all the plays? Marchand
Mm-hmm.
and Bennett, right? They're scoring all the goals, they're making these great plays, and they're hitting the other team's goalie, they're taking cheap shots. It's got to be driving the Oilers bananas. But
Doesn't
it's only
Marsh?
one game. It's
Yeah,
only one game, and it's 2-1. They're still in the series.
but Willie, they've really dominated. They've really shown their physicality all three games. And it seems like to
Yes,
me they're just wearing Edmonton out. And again, unless Edmonton has a energizer pack and some extra big muscles that I don't know about, I'm not sure if they can beat Florida. Marchand, he has like 8 goals in the playoffs. He has what, a
it's
total of
incredible.
11? He has 8 goals, I think, in the playoffs, or a little bit more than that.
Since Adam's not here,
Uh-huh.
I'll relay a stat that I heard Kenny Albert say last night. I think he was the first player. I think if I heard Kenny right, first player ever to score an overtime game-winning goal in one game, and then have the first goal of the game in the next game. So that's what he did. He ended game 2 with the
Mm-hmm.
overtime winner, the double overtime winner, and then opened up the scoring just a minute and a half into the game last night. So he is on a complete roll. Same thing with Bennett. It's like
Mm-hmm.
every time that it's time to make a play, those guys are making the plays. So I do think Florida feels really good. It can turn,
Mm-hmm.
but you've got some of the things that the Oilers have been concerned about showing up. Stuart Skinner's not playing that great. He's going to have to play better, and he's a very shaky goalie to start with. But he's been in this position before, and he's started to play better. We'll see. But they're missing Zach Hyman. They've got some depth issues. Florida is way deeper, way deeper. And like you were saying, the physicality, I think, starts taking its toll later in the series, right? Just keep pounding away. And by game 5, game 6, game 7, the other team, I think, really starts to feel more fatigue.
Yeah, the people, listen, if you're not watching this series, you need to start watching it. It's a hell of a series. I was looking at, Willie, the penalty minutes. Man, Edmonton had 85 penalty minutes to the Panthers 55. 85 penalty minutes. They damn near spent the whole game in the penalty minutes in some form or fashion. But I know at the end of the game,
I think they ran out of paper. I think they ran out of room on the score sheet. There was I think it was Michael Russo, who covers the NHL for The Athletic. He took a photograph and he posted it on social media, the official box score. And the penalty minutes were so long. I swear they probably had to get an extra long piece of paper to get them all on there, because at that certain point there, they didn't care. They just like, I don't care if I finish this game or not. I'm just going to try to get some PIMs and get on out of here.
Hey, Willie, it reminded me at one point when they were all fighting and they showed like just a wide screen. It reminded me of what was the name of the Will Ferrell movie when they were in the basketball? He had the basketball team.
Semi-pro.
Yeah, semi-pro. When they all were fighting right when the commercial went off, and they all started fighting in different groups. And then when the commercial came back, they all stopped fighting and started shaking hands. That's what that reminded me of. But they were doing it while we all were listening. Meanwhile, we all were watching. They were all fighting on the ice. It was just like a group over here, a group over here. The ref stopped trying to stop this group, and then another group started fighting. So it was hilarious at the end. But man, oh man, I tell you. If you wanted to see a dominating performance by any team that has been in, whether it been the NHL playoffs or the NBA playoffs, I mean, you wouldn't have seen probably a better domination of an opponent than what we saw last night from the Panthers when they beat in beating Edmonton 6-1.
So the Oilers are on the ropes, but remember, they were down 3-0 last year, so they're already ahead of the game, and they got back in it, and they've got Connor McDavid, so let's keep that in mind. Here's a couple of texts from the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. First of all, Greg says, D-Mace is business on top and party on the bottom. I guess he's referring to the Tom Cruise look.
Yes.
But can you confirm that you do have leg wear on today?
Yes, I can confirm that I have leg wear.
Confirmed on the other side of the glass.
Okay. And we have a witness. Okay, so Nick is confirming that. Joey from Bellevue says, hopefully Adam is okay. Is he licking his wounds with Duke losing yesterday? Duke got upset by Murray State. So congratulations to the Racers. I'm sure there's some Murray State people in our listening area right now. The Racers are going to the College World Series. How about that? Pretty awesome. That's a Cinderella story right there.
Yes.
Neil on our text line says, if the broadcast was on ABC, the ratings would be better. We definitely have covered that. Just the fact that they're not on free TV always does make a difference.
Yes.
Kane hit Carter Verhaeghe. This is from John. Kane hit Carter Verhaeghe, but it was a shoulder pad. Certainly looked like the head in live play, but he sold it well. The intent was not good there. Fortunately, he did not hit him in the chops or anything like that. Then I think there could have been something bad. Joey from Gallatin adds with his stat of the day. See, we're picking up the slack for Adam. Marchand is the first player to score in all three of the first games of the Stanley Cup final. That's incredible. He's already done a lot of stuff. I think another stat is that Marchand is the oldest player to have 8 goals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Wow. Man. That's from Dylan in Antioch. So yes.
Don't he have that's what it is. He has like a total of 11 goals in a Stanley Cup series altogether, but he has 8 in this year's, I believe.
Pretty incredible.
No, not 8. Somewhere in the playoffs. It's something I was reading. I got to go back and get it.
He's been worth everything. They made a trade at the trade deadline. The Panthers did, to get him from Boston. Of course, Marchand played for Boston forever. And the deal was it's a second-round pick, but if we go to the Stanley Cup final, we'll give you a first-round pick. And that's what it's turned into. So they are gladly going to fork over their first-round pick
absolutely.
to the Bruins for the performance that that he is giving them, for sure. And now we've got Terry, appropriately, quoting our buddy Terry Chris. As Crispy used to say, momentum does not usually carry over from one game to the next in a series. That's what the Oilers certainly have to hope for. But we shall see. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. You can call or text, and we'll take your thoughts on the series here. We'll keep checking in on that. We've got Tim Hasselbeck, who's going to join us at 11:30 for his weekly football chat. We'll have some great things to cover with him. We're going to play a fun game at noon today as well. And D-Mace is coming up with it. We're gonna have a series of these, but we've got a giveaway for you. But at noon, D-Mace, tell people what we're going to do with the Who Am I?
Okay, people, this is going to be a little short segment called Who Am I? Or, however you want to phrase it, but we're going to say Who Am I? What we're going to do is you take a Titans player. You want to start a franchise. You can't select a quarterback at all, but you want to start your franchise with these two pillars. One player, here's the caveat, one player has to be a current Tennessee Titan, and the other player can be anybody in the NFL. So you're building a team, but to build this team, you cannot select any quarterbacks. You got to select a current Tennessee Titan and a player from any team in the NFL outside of the Titans. Which two players will you start your franchise with?
So that's going to come up a little bit later in the show. Also, we're going to do a contest. The Who Am I? D-Mace is going to give you some clues on a past Titan. And it will not be Eddie George.
No,
that would
it
be number one.
Eddie.
That would be way too easy. That would be way too easy. But Eddie George, the football coach for the Bowling Green Falcons, is going to join us at 12:30. So we got a really good show for you today. Tim Hasselbeck, 11:30. Eddie George at 12:30. Titans Who Am I for a prize at noon. D-Mace is going to give clues. We'll see if D-Mace goes back into the well of his former teammates or he goes more contemporary for his media career. We don't know. But D-Mace has got clues, and we're going to give away a prize. Nick, has he revealed yet who the identity is?
No, he is not.
No,
he is not revealed.
No.
He is not revealed. Okay, so we're going to get some clues. Also, we're going to update you on Ed, the zebra. There is news on Ed. The owners, I was watching Channel 5 today, and Nick Barris, he caught up with the owners of Ed, and it was hilarious. Did you watch this, D-Mace?
Yes, I did. I'm having the microphone off. It's hilarious. They had two. They have two. It's not just one. They have two.
I know. They had more than one zebra.
Yes.
They've had to alter their plans for the zebra, right? The family of zebras. I think they have also decided that maybe this wasn't the greatest idea to have zebras.
Duh.
Right? So after Tim, we're going to play some clips from that interview because there are some priceless quotes from them. And these people seem like really nice people. They're not like we all envisioned Tiger King. Like this was another thing during COVID that it just happened to be. We had nothing to do except for watch Netflix, and Tiger King was a big thing. I don't think I otherwise would have watched Tiger King, but these people seemed like very normal, everyday people. They were not like the Tiger King guy that was a complete wacko, but they just had kind of a matter-of-fact discussion about it, and they were like, yeah, zebra got out. He must have got out over here, over there. We're not quite sure, and we were hoping it wasn't going to get hurt, and they're following this thing, and they've gotten outreach from all over the country, all over the world about Ed the zebra, and they actually had footage of them catching. Ed was running through a field, and the helicopter went down there. It was some outfit out of Texas, right, D-Mace, where they dropped the net on him?
Yes, they got a crew from Texas, flew by, dropped the net on him, and Ed was captured. It was easy peasy. Yeah. Why couldn't they do that? Why couldn't they do that Friday?
I don't
you.
know.
It's a
It lasted a while.
conspiracy, man.
They said they didn't want to shoot. They didn't want to hit him with a tranquilizer
Mhm.
gun because they worried that he might get out of sorts and run into a road or something. So they tried to do it without it. So maybe that took a little longer.
Mhm.
But we
Well, why they
commend
have to get? Why did they have to get a crew from Texas? Why they can't get one from Kentucky? Why they couldn't get one from Indiana, a nearby state? Why did they have to go,
I don't know.
some miles away to get one?
I guess Tennessee did
Mm.
not, or maybe I assume Kentucky did not have this. If you pull out the
They
yellow
were not
page,
equipped with that type of.
Google your phone, nearest zebra rescue team. It just wasn't anywhere near. I guess that it just
I'm
what
with
popped
D-Mace
up
on
was
this
on
one.
Texas.
I
Yeah.
think there's a little conspiracy behind this. I
Yes,
think
man.
there was nothing going on last week in the
Exactly.
news. They wanted to build this up. I mean,
Headed it to CMAs.
if it were me,
Mm.
I would. The big story would be crossbreeding. You got to make sure this zebra's not crossbreeding because then you have a Tennessee zebra.
Yeah, you don't know what that zebra was doing out in the wild.
He's got a whole week.
Yeah, he had a week, Willie.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I think they have decided.
Mhm.
It sounded to me by the end of the interview. I don't think I saw this directly quoted in the
It may have been a
news
girl.
piece, but they have decided to either let them go to a zoo or somewhere where the zebras can have a great life and be appreciated. But I think they're like, zebra owners, maybe not the best idea. Maybe not the best
Nah.
idea.
Mm-mm.
So
Nope. That zebra
I
needs
would
to
have
go.
liked for a little, on TV, you don't
Uh-huh.
have time for a 10 or 15-minute interview, right? But I would have loved the question, what gave you the idea to want a zebra or two on your property?
What are you gonna do with it?
Yeah. What was the plan?
Yeah.
What was the thought of, hey, this is an idea I have. Let's go get some zebras. They didn't really cover that.
Nah, they didn't.
But we're going to play a little clip from the interview a little bit later in the hour. So we're just getting started. We got a lot of stuff going on the show today. Let's take our break, and when we come back, Tim Hasselbeck is going to join us. And remember, you can join us by call or text 615-737-1025. Call or text driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Stay tuned. We're coming back, just getting cranking here on DVD 1025 The Game.
Back at you. DVD, D Mace, Vingen, and Donick. I'm going to be your host right now, Derek Mason. We're scheduled to have Tim on at 12:15 today. So
do we have to move Tim?
Yeah, we had to move Tim. So we will have him today at 12:15. He had some scheduling things that he had to do. He had to rearrange a few things.
So this is an important thing.
We're always willing, to move around for Tim. So we have Tim at 12:15 and then Eddie right after that at 12:30. So keep your ears tuned to the station.
Which means we might have to do our Who Am I for the Titans.
Yeah.
We could still do it at noon.
Yeah, we can still do it at noon.
We still could do it at 9.
And we could tie Eddie into it too, because none of the Who Am I will be Eddie. So people, I'm not going to say, he's not going to be one of the Who Am I. So maybe we can get Eddie to try to guess at 12:30 as well. So let's do that. So we'll start at 12, have Tim at 12:15, let the people ponder on it, then have Eddie at 12:30 and loop him into the Who Am I game as well. You think he would figure it out?
I think, it depends on the era, probably.
Yeah, you're right.
I would also say that we don't want him to blurt out the answer because he is ineligible to win the prize. We're not going to let Eddie win the prize.
Yes, he will not win the prize. No, not at all.
All right, so since we thought we were going to have Tim, do we need to play the Channel 5 interview with the owners? I feel like the people need to hear this.
Do we have it, Nick?
Are we ready for it, Nick?
Yes, indeed.
Oh, boy. All right.
Safety moments after his capture. For many, it begs the question, how did it come to this? Taylor Ford says you can start here.
I think he got through one of the fences over here right across the creek, probably about 75 yards from here.
Taylor and his wife, Laura, bought the zebra just one day before it escaped. That's when a neighbor called to tell Taylor a large animal was roaming free nearby.
He said, I need to go see, there's a zebra that's escaped in Christiana, and I need to go see if it's ours. And I just kind of looked at him like, well, most likely, it's probably not someone else's, right?
Sure enough, it was Ed, and the escape triggered a week-long search for the zebra with several sightings, but catching the animal proved tricky.
I think it was so stressful for him and I both because I think our biggest fear was him being near the road and the interstate and someone getting hurt.
The Fords say they heard from about every cowboy in Middle Tennessee offering to help, but you can't safely lasso a wild zebra like you would a horse. A tranquilizer dart was ruled out, fearing Ed could still run for minutes and end up in a road. So they hired a team out of Texas with a chopper.
Chased it out with a gator, which was what we did, away from the interstate. And then they had a team walking through the woods, and then it pushed it out into the big, huge open field.
This drone video shows a helicopter swooping down and dropping a net over the zebra. Ed was then restrained and airlifted away. The Fords say Ed is unharmed, safe, and now apparently a national sensation.
How crazy has all the reaction been?
No one could ever imagine the amount of calls and texts
or shout outs from the big main stage at CMA Fest.
The zebra, Ed the zebra, he's been on the loose here in Nashville and Middle Tennessee for a few days. I can happily report tonight he's been safely airlifted.
For sure, it's been quite a run for Ed, and a female zebra the Fords also bought. Last night, both were taken to a new, temporary, and more secure location.
All right, Ed, welcome to your new home.
Nick Barris.
Girlfriend's out there.
News Channel 5.
All right, so D-Mace. I know, and it's a shame that Adam's not on with us today because we texted this to Adam. Adam's first impression, anytime anything comes up with a zebra, he's like, I have a lot of questions. But how about this? Did you hear the clip where somebody called, I believe the woman's name was Laura, and they're like, there's an animal, looks like a zebra, it's loose here in Christiana. Now remember, Christiana, for those that are not familiar, is close to Murfreesboro, right? But it's a smaller town, like a real small town. So they were like, there's an animal, it's a zebra. I think it might be yours, right? Now, how funny is that? Like, you're Laura, you're sitting there going, Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's
nobody else
probably mine.
should nobody else have a zebra around here.
Right.
So yeah, it is my zebra. And then when you heard that, you should have been out the house. You should have thrown your shoes, ran out the house, and went exactly where they said they saw that zebra. But maybe they didn't. Maybe they sat around. Why? Because it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. Not enough going on in sports. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna let loose a zebra and act as if this is Madagascar. So there you
Do you
go.
think the owners were in on the?
Oh,
Were,
of course.
were they in on the conspiracy?
Of course. No, I'm just they're in on they're in on a conspiracy.
So
they had
were
to be.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't feel. I didn't feel like they were like super attached yet because they'd only had Ed for like a day. They were like, "We've got to get Ed back. Get him back. We got to get people. Get on the phone. Let's find the."
No, they wasn't trying to
find
find
help.
Ed that quick.
They were like, "Yeah, I just hope he doesn't run out to the road."
Mm. Yeah, they
We'll
wasn't
get
trying
him
to find Ed that quick.
eventually.
They wasn't trying to find him. So, but yeah, so Ed has
Apparently
been
there's
caught.
a lot of room to roam in Christiana too. All those clips we saw, like wide fields and streams and wood. He's just running all over the place.
Yeah, so Ed has been caught, everyone. If you didn't know, I think it was a conspiracy, but everyone else thinks that it's just everyday happenings here in the state of Tennessee. But I think it was a conspiracy. So sports was slow, so they had to do something to generate people to television. So there you go. Oh, Ed get loose in somebody's backyard. So, but he has been caught. So there you go.
And they had a clip. You couldn't really tell that unless you were really listening closely. But if you watch the clip, there's this huge concert going on at the CMAs, and I guess they're about to introduce the act, and the guy's on the stage, and he says, here's a news bulletin, right? And they put the big picture of Ed on the big screen by the concert stage. They found Ed, and the crowd just goes, "Ah, we found the zebra." So,
and that's what they wanted.
Great entertainment.
Yes, Willie. I was thinking about this yesterday, and because when you're looking at the Titans, we want to get back into the Titans because pretty soon here we're going to have Tim on, and then right after that we're going to have Eddie on, so we can discuss some of these things.
So we're gonna we'll play a little bit of what Callahan said
Exactly.
in the next segment here. But so let's do this. I got one other thing I got to get off my chest, D-Mace, before we get to the Callahan stuff. Okay, in the next segment, my son Mahoney. In the celebration of the CMAs, and he was out and about. I try not to ask too many questions as a dad. He's in college, you know, but he lost his license.
Oh,
okay, lost the driver's license, and you know he's like, "What do I do? I got to get another one." He's got to report to the Chillicothe Paints here tomorrow, so he's not going to be in town, and doesn't want to be driving around without a license. So I was like, you got to suck it up, man. You got to go to the DMV. And he's like, oh no, the DMV. All right. Let's take Nick first, and then I'll get your answer, D-Mace. Nick, when I say DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, you've got to go there. What is your first impression?
A long line.
Bingo.
Getting there at 7 a.m. with a long line outside the door.
Exactly. Okay, D-Mace, have you had a similar experience somewhere?
My DMV
we try to avoid going there at all costs.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's the same. Nobody wakes up and says, you know what? Is there any reason I need to go to the DMV? Because I love going to the DMV and hanging out there and getting stuff done. But nobody has ever said that in the history of man.
No, but it depends on. See, the DMV was so crowded now, or it has been recently, because everybody was so in a rush to get their new ID. They had to get their real ID. So every line, every DMV was packed, and no matter where you went.
Right.
But
and we do have to ask the question too: was it really worth all of the stuff for the real ID? Only time will tell.
Yeah, only time will tell. But
because it was already a brutal operation to start with, now you add that on top of it,
it makes it even worse.
Yeah.
So
when's the last time you had to go there?
It may have been like 3 years ago. I had to go, and luckily, I didn't. I ended up going out in Williamson County, and this may have been. I was still living in Williamson County, so that's why I ended up going out there. So it may have been like 4 years ago, and it was easy peasy. I went in there, had to wait no more than 45 minutes.
Okay,
Which
what
at the
planet are we
DMV,
talking about here? There's no way you got out of there. In 45
yes, in
minutes.
45
way.
minutes. But you got to understand,
Did
this
you have
was
an
a
appointment?
different. Didn't have an appointment, but nobody was in a rush to get their real ID. Kids were out of school, so it was pretty much free in there. Outside of kids taking tests and all that other stuff, their driver's tests, but it was pretty much free. See, it's all about
What-
when you go
Okay.
to the
Well,
DMV.
you got lucky.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you got lucky.
I'm not trying to be
so
waiting
Mahoney,
at the DMV that
Mahoney
long.
yesterday, and I've experienced this myself. Fortunately, Mahoney didn't have anything else that he had to do yesterday. He was there for 4 hours.
Oh.
And all he had to do, once he got in there,
Uh-huh.
all he had to do was show his, you show your passport, you show your old your paperwork
Uh-huh.
to show that you are who you say you are. They look you up, then they give you a copy, and they're going to send him a new one. Right? It didn't take very long when you got in there. It took him 4 hours to get in there.
Oh, wow.
Now, I don't know who runs it exactly. I mean, it's
The NCAA.
It's through. Well, you know what? That's a really good question. It's a really good question. It might be. I assume it's through the state somehow, and it's not that different, I guess, in other states.
No.
But why can't we come up with a better system? Like, they're always understaffed. I feel so bad for the people where it's not the workers in there. They're doing the best they can. They deal with this every day. Like, I walked in there. I brought him food.
Oh,
after
wow.
our show
He's there that long?
Yes, he's sitting there, and I go, "Can I bring you food?" He's like, "Yeah." He just had to wait, and he's on the list. He sat down in his car because there's not enough room in the facility for you to sit, and if you do, you're in there like sardines. So it's more comfortable to sit out in your car. You can listen to music or whatever. The parking lot's jam packed. There's people everywhere, and they're all trying to get something done. And they're all looking at each other going, "How long have you been here?" "Yeah, I've been here for 2.5 hours, 3 hours."
I've been here for a day.
How about you? You go up there and you're like, just make sure I'm still on the list, right? You still got me? You didn't forget me, right? No, be patient, buddy. Like, these poor workers, they get this every day, I'm sure. It's got to be the worst job. Can we help these guys out and get a better way to efficiently do this? It's like a running joke.
It's been like this forever.
How poorly run our DMV. Like, we need to get this better. It's the most inefficient system I've ever seen for things that are fairly simple, right? It's just paperwork.
Hey, listen, I rolled the dice a couple of times. I had to go. I did have to wait. So hopefully it stays that way.
Charmed. D-Mace is the first person ever in my lifetime that said, "Yeah, I just zipped into the DMV. I got my stuff done. I zipped out of there." That doesn't happen.
Because let me say this.
Can somebody help me out? 615-737-1025. Because is anybody feeling the pain here? I didn't even have to do it. I was just Mahoney. I was laughing because it's like, well, this is going to teach him to hold on to that license. He is never going to lose his license again after having this.
But once you do it now, two things. I will admit, when I did go and it seemed like it was a long line, I left because nothing was pressing. So when I finally went back and it had died down, or I went a different day and it had died down, then I waited. But I have been several times where the wait is like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I'm like, nah, I don't need it that bad. So then I leave. But then two, now that you have your real ID, I think you can do it from now on. You have the ability to do it online now. So you don't have to wait in that long line. I
think he is still too young to have done. We tried to fill it out online. And he's too young to do it. It came back and it said, you have to be a class whatever, which I assume means he has to have his license for longer to be able to replace it online. And so we're like, oh, that's great. So I know what you're doing tomorrow as we fill that. He's like, oh, I got to go in there, don't I? So it was, and so we had a texter say, y'all don't have a kiosk to save time?
Yeah, there are kiosks in there.
They are there, but they don't let you do. They couldn't do it on the kiosk. I don't. That would be another thing that I don't understand. Why you wouldn't want every single person to be able to do whatever they could on that kiosk, because that would save a lot of time. It's such an inefficiently run system, and it drives me crazy. It was the same 10 years ago. It was the same 20 years ago. I don't get it. Like, help these guys out that work there. Like, that would be the toughest job, one of the toughest jobs that I can think of.
And
Well,
now,
let's see. We got a couple of texters.
Mhm.
Michigan. This is a texter from Michigan. Michigan is set up the same as Tennessee. Kentucky is the one. It's really quick. If you're there an hour, you've been there too long. So I guess we got to talk to the people of Kentucky. Could somebody from Kentucky help us out with this? And then we have another texter saying most of the DMV things can be done online.
yeah,
If
that's
not,
what I'm saying.
you can at least schedule an appointment. Yes, the appointment is good, but in this situation, he didn't have time to set up an appointment, right? And that's fine. I love the appointment sounds good.
Mhm.
That I'm sure cuts down your wait, but there are times you just have to get it done that day
Well,
because you're going out of town or something. You got to get done. It shouldn't take you 4 hours to do that.
no, it shouldn't. But
It's messed up.
that's the way it is. So you try to navigate yourself around it. But hopefully, old Mahoney won't lose those licenses again.
I was laughing. I kept texting. I was like, "This is next time you go out. You got your wallet in your pocket. Get it secured.
Exactly.
Get it secured. It's not falling out anywhere. It's got to be zipped. Whatever." So we got Mike and Gallatin for a quick DMV story, and then we'll turn our attention to the Titans here. Mike, what happened to you in the DMV?
Hey guys, so I have to acquire the new Real ID if you wanting to have an easier time at the airport. And we looked online. They said, well, you should have to book an appointment, and it's no big deal. I go on the Tennessee website to give it a shot, and there's not a single DMV that doesn't have an appointment ready for that Real ID till the end of October. It's that far backed up.
Wow.
End of October.
Actual appointment until after October, unless you want to drive to like Clarksville or somewhere like a little more out east. So I called up to the DMV and I said, okay, I have an appointment. I have to get on an airplane before the end of September. And they said, well, you can come in there, but we prioritize the appointment. So I guess I got a pack of catering, bring a flat screen television, roll some movies, pop some popcorn, get a lawn chair, something, because I might have to be there the entire day just to acquire this ID.
Well, dig in, Mike. All I can say is when you go in there, bring a couple of Netflix shows you want to watch, bring some good tunes, maybe a book on tape.
Yep, because you're going to be there for a while. You're going to be there for a while.
You're going to have to suck it up. You might as well just milk it. But, Mike, thank you for the call. Randy, we got to go to the break, but Randy also on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. My license expires in July.
Ooh.
You guys have sent me into a panic attack.
You better go get it done this week.
I was just going to go 15 minutes before they close.
No.
And slide in there. I don't know about that.
That ain't going to happen, man.
I don't think that's going to work.
Nope.
All right. When we come back, we're going to play a couple clips to hear what Brian Callahan had to say earlier today. And in the 12 o'clock hour, we are stocked up. We're going to go Eddie George. We've got Tim Hasselbeck. We've got Who Am I with the Titans. We got a great show going here on DVD 102.5 The Game.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. This is Derek Mason, and you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a resolution to shed some extra pounds, only to face disappointment. But at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a new approach or a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
Career coach, what more do you challenge Jeff to be better at?
One more time.
Just at this point in his career, he's been doing it at a high level for so long. What more do you challenge Jeff to be better at?
I think you can always improve. I think you can always find an area of your game. And to me, the best players that are like Jeff, those guys that are high level players, are always looking for somewhere to improve their game. I think I'd love to see more sack numbers from Jeff. That would be a goal for him, to be able to actually get the quarterback on the ground. Now, he affects the quarterback a lot, but the actual getting of the quarterback on the ground is something that I think he can do a better job of. And I know he's hell bent on making that happen for us. But there's always something you can get better at. He's always working at something, and I think he's grown as a person. He continues to grow as a player. You'd like to feel like he's sort of hitting his prime at this point, with the experience that he has and the amount he's played, to get the best version of Jeff this year.
That was Brian Callahan talking about Jeffrey Simmons, and something tells me that quote might end up on our afternoon show today.
Definitely.
We have had Willie Donick and Derek Mason here with you, just wrapping up our discussion about the follies of the DMV. I had a texter text us on our text line. Number one, a couple of texters saying, yes, Kentucky has a much better system, so maybe somebody needs to talk to somebody up there
in Kentucky,
so we can improve. And then another person went to the DMV yesterday, had an appointment to get a real ID from 2 months ago, showed up. They had no record of the appointment.
Wow.
Now, another appointment, like the other caller said,
man,
he can't get another appointment for 3 more months.
Oh, wow.
Great. That sounds great. Can we not do this better, guys? Come on.
I would have been, oh, man. I feel bad for the person. I really do. Man.
And you're ready to, just absolutely go crazy on the person that's working there. And it's not really their fault either. The person working is just trying to do their job, and it's not in the system. So it's not in the, I don't know. I mean, they got to do better.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's get to the Simmons clip, because I thought it was interesting that Brian Callahan in that clip, D-Mace, acknowledged, we need more sacks from Jeffrey Simmons. That is going to fuel the fire, if you will, from Mr. Stillman. But we've all acknowledged that he is a guy that, even though certain years you're getting double teamed, you're not getting sacks. Some years you should get more than others. It's happenstance. Are you getting the pressure? Are you doing your job? Callahan says, yes, that's all fine and good, but we need sacks.
Yeah, listen, Jeffrey, because of what Jeff has already shown us, we expect him to have those sacks. He's shown us before in 2022 that he can get to the quarterback. And that was his highest. Well, 20 was his highest graded, but that was his second highest graded season per PFF was 22. So Jeffrey has shown us that he can get to the quarterback. So when we see that he's not getting the quarterback on the ground, we have questions. I know Jeff says, well, I've been double teamed and triple teamed. Well, I mean, listen, man, big fella, that's what happened when they consider you one of the most dominant, interior guys in the league. You're going to get double teamed. You're going to get triple teamed. You just got to find a way to fight through all of that and still get the quarterback on the ground. Now, Denard Wilson needs to help you with that. In regards to the scheme, I think the scheme will ultimately help him because now he's in the second year of the scheme, but he does need he needs to be more of a factor in getting the quarterback on the ground, because he's shown us he can be a dominant player. Now, we look at Jeffrey and he said, well, he had a bad season. He didn't have a bad season last year. If you're just going back grades, again, take PFF for what you want to take it for. I just look at it along with a few other sites. He graded out of 80, which is third best in his career. His best was in 20. So he graded out really well, but it wasn't the consistent impact that we know Jeff can give this team. It was sporadic. And that's why when you look at the season, just off the top of your head, you think, man, Jeff didn't have a good season. Well, in fact, he did have a good season, but it wasn't the type of season that we had gotten used to. I
Right.
dismissed the 23 because he was hurt a lot of that season. But man, that 20 season, that 22 season, he was lights out. He needs to get back to that form. Even though he played well last year, he needs to be more of a factor in games consistently.
Nevada Josh on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, said, hey, Reggie White, basically saying all the greats.
Yeah,
He's using
it
Reggie
happens.
White.
Yeah.
All the greats are getting double teamed, right? So
Mhm.
that goes with the territory, and the greats still find a way to get the sack. So that's the central question for an interior defensive line. I think it's a little different for somebody on the edge,
Mhm.
but on the interior, the central question is, can you have a great year without having a lot of sacks? I think you can, but you need to show me that other people are getting the sacks. And so I'm still thinking there's got to be more there. They need more from Jeffrey Simmons because they're paying him a lot.
Mhm.
Not that it's all about that, but when you invest so heavily in one player, there's a lot expected with that.
Well, the problem here is that even if Jeff goes out there and get double team or sometimes triple team, we expect him to fight through the double team. Now, the triple team is something different. You better be Aaron Donald mixed with Reggie White together to beat triple teams consistently. But I think what is happening, we just like you said, Willie, we don't see the residual, effects of a Jeffrey Simmons. Because Jeff's getting double teamed, we don't see the sacks from everybody else. That's why it's imperative to get those sacks that even though Harold Landry wasn't like the best defensive end or rush outside linebacker in the league, he was a very good player. And he was going to get you 9.5 to 10 sacks per season. So you knew you were going to get that. They don't know where they're going to get the sacks at from this season outside of Jeffrey Simmons. And I think that's why Callahan made that comment, because he doesn't know where the other sacks are going to come from. So if that is indeed the case, I need to give Jeffrey needs to give us a little bit more, because right now, if we're just looking at it, we don't have anybody that's a double-digit sack guy outside of Jeffrey Simmons.
Yes. Okay. So let me go back to Albert Hainsworth, 2007, 2008.
Mhm.
He was the second in the defensive player of the year in 2007. He was fourth in the defensive player of the year in 2008. And then we know he cashed in with an enormous contract. He was as disruptive as any defensive player. He's right up there. He moved the needle.
Mhm.
He had 6 sacks in 2007. He had 8.5 in 2008. So it's not like he had double digits, right? But it was clear. And he did miss a couple games in each of those years.
Mhm.
He missed 3 games in 07 and 2 games in 08. So he might have had another sack or 2 in there had he played 16 games. But that said, it shows you that he didn't have to get all the sacks. He was still incredibly disruptive.
But you had the
Tackles for loss
Vandenbosch
and
on
everything
the
like
other
that.
side.
But yes, that's what I was getting at.
Mhm.
It was opening things up for the other guys, and the defense was extremely
Mhm.
effective because of it. And he was the central part. So you can be dominant without racking up double-digit sacks. But I think it is fair for Brian Callahan to say, we need more. We need more from Jeffrey Simmons. And they need the other guys to take advantage of the matchups that he does open up. And Sweat, for that matter, too. That's the idea. You get those 2 guys in there, you should be able to create some good matchups for people on the outside, because those guys take up a lot of space and they're strong. All right, when we come back, D-Mace is going to have his Who Am I for the Titans. So win a prize, hang with us, and D-Mace is going to unveil, we're going to have a fun new contest. Who am I? A former Titan. D-Mace has the clues.
It's a Titan / Oiler.
Okay.
It's a Titan / Oiler. So it could be a Titan, it could be an Oiler, it could be a Titan Oiler.
Aha. Could be both. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to make it too easy for you now.
All right. So you're calling in for this to answer this on the air, correct?
Yes.
We're going
to
take
call
so
in.
if you want to be the early birds and get the first cracks at this, call right now. 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025. Don't be the knucklehead that texts the answer, because you can't win. I mean, you can text the answer, And we will, if you want to flex your muscles and say, yeah, I got it, that's fine. But you can't win the prize. To win the prize, you got to answer it on the air. 615-737-1025. We'll tell you about the prize, too. We come back. Also, Tim Hasselbeck later in the show, Eddie George later in the show. A lot of good stuff today on DVD here on 1025 The Game. D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick here on 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick here with you. Derek Mason. Adam Vingan is going to take a little time off for the rest of the week. And so we are going to have a whole lot of fun. We've got the Who Am I segment coming up. Our prize today is a pair of tickets to see Live and Collective Soul at First Bank Amphitheater on Sunday, August 10th. Now, that is right in my wheelhouse. That is my college days and post-college. So that's some 90s stuff.
You sound like Rex
That
Road,
I know
man.
is going to resonate. Yeah, I'm going Rex Road here on this. I know Rex Road. I have seen Live in concert. I saw them at Memorial Gym way, way back. So I am dating myself for sure. But August 10th, they're coming. And so I think this will line up with where this player played, when this player played, perhaps with D-Mace. So 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And so we're going to hit this. We've got a couple people lined up to try to answer this. Let's give the clues. And so we are presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So, D-Mace, hit him with the clues on Who Am I. This is a former Titan.
I am a
Oiler Titan.
Yes, I am a former Titan or Oiler or both. I am a receiver out of the University of Tulane. I played 4 years, all but one with the Tennessee Titans. Who am I?
All right, repeat
615-737-1025. And we got some callers on hold. I am a receiver, okay, who played only played 3 of the 4 years with the Tennessee Titans. I ended my career with the Washington Commanders. Who am I? From the University of Tulane. 615-737-1025. We got a caller, Nick?
Yes, I believe we've got Joey is up first. If you want to join in, if you're hearing D-Mason's
Get him
clues,
on the phone now, because I don't want them to get him on the phone now. Let's go.
I know. The quicker the better. So, Joey, what do we got?
Is it Roydell Williams?
He had too long. Yes, he is absolutely right. Roydell Williams. He was drafted by the Tennessee Titans in 2005, spent 3 seasons with the Titans, spent 3 other seasons nowhere else, but then resurfaced with the Washington Commanders in 2010, where he played 16 games, didn't start any. But yes, Roydell Williams, his best season, let me say this, his best season was 2007, where he caught 719 yards, 4 touchdowns on 93 targets and 55 receptions. So yes, weren't you just talking about him the other day, Willie?
I didn't bring up Roydell Williams. I didn't look at him. We talked about a lot of our theme last week, which was a lot of fun, was hyped up players, and there were often wide receivers that you had hope for, that in the offseason you were thinking, this guy is going to be the next Derek Mason. He's going to be the next guy. We got all these issues at wide receiver. We need somebody. We've got X. Roydell Williams is in there. I could have brought him up. I brought up Lavelle Hawkins. We brought up a lot of other guys from the past that just for whatever reason never blossomed after being the offseason heroes and the subject of a lot of those great practices where everybody's buzzing going, okay, Roydell Williams, I think he's going to be the man. It's going to happen. Didn't happen.
Not quite.
So great. Who am I? Good job by Joey. So yeah, Joey is heading to see Live and Collective Soul at First Bank Amphitheater Sunday, August 10th.
Now, do we have some more stuff to give away, man? Because I like this game.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have anything else to give away? Or we can just keep going with the game, and people can call in.
We're do this again tomorrow, for sure.
Absolutely.
We got a crowded hour because we got Tim Hasselbeck coming up here in just a couple minutes, and then Eddie George later this hour. We got double interview action in this hour. And then in the 1 o'clock hour, we have the topic of the day that you came up with, D-Mace, and that is starting a franchise by today's players. Who would you build around if you had to pick from the Titans roster? And then around the league, a non-Titan, who would you pick to build your franchise around? But it cannot be a quarterback.
No.
Cannot be a quarterback. All right, so this is a shortened segment. Joey was able to win it. Congratulations, Joe. We'll do some more Titans Who Am I throughout this week. I like this game. We're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Tim Hasselbeck is going to join us next here on DVD.
Back at you, DVD, D Mace, Vingen, and Donick. We got my main man, Tim Hasselbeck, on the line.
Sure.
Tim, you like your introductory song, man? I think we need to change. We need to spice it up a little bit, man. What do you think?
First off,
what do you think?
I like my walk up music. I still like my walk up music. So I'd say like I've been doing this hit for over a decade easily.
Uh-huh.
That might be the first time that you've ever brought it back from break when I've come on. Like that might be the first time.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to be multifaceted around here, man. You know, when things happen, life is fluid. You got to jump in the seat and you got to be ready. You know how it is, Tim. You can't get ready. You got to be ready. And I am always ready.
Hey, boy, you should do D-Mace. Like, hey, you're coming up on football season, mini camp. I see just like more you can do. Let's go.
Hey, listen, don't give Chase no ideas, man. Okay, I'm cool with Ryan, where I'm at right now. Don't give Chase no more ideas.
Hi,
okay?
best friend. I miss you.
Hey, Tim, quickly, I want to get into this before I get into some Titan news. The situation in Atlanta. I know Atlanta has named Michael Penix. He's going to be their starter. And I know they're trying to somehow, some way facilitate a trade with Kirk Cousins eventually. But do you think it would be wise of them to eat the salary and keep Kirk Cousins on the roster for another year? Because this is a team with a new head coach. If anything happens to the rookie the second-year quarterback, who we've seen a little but not enough, do you think it would be wise that they keep Kirk Cousins just in case as a backup plan?
Listen, I think if the money is relatively similar, meaning if in order to trade him, they've got to eat a huge chunk of his contract, then yeah, I do. Because the other aspect of it with Cousins at this stage of his career, and because of the type of guy he is, that having Cousins, I think, is a huge benefit to Michael Penix. I just, some guys, end up as the backup, and they're not a benefit to the starter. In fact, they kind of can fracture the locker room. Like if Penix were to struggle or anything like that, Cousins isn't going to be like that. And so I think because of, his experience, the type of guy and teammate that he is, if the money isn't drastically different, where it's, some team is getting you off of the hook, of his salary, then yeah, I think you keep him as your backup. And it's just, it's unfortunate that you signed your backup quarterback to a huge starter deal. I mean, I think that's ultimately how I would look at it.
We'll talk with Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst and head coach of the Innsworth Tigers. Now, let's shift our talk over to the Tennessee Titans. They're entering into mandatory minicamp today. I think they may be on the field right now. How does Brian Callahan handle this situation moving forward? It's not a huge situation because ultimately we know Cam Ward will be the quarterback once the season kicks off. But as a head coach, a second-year head coach, how does he manage this in a way where, he's not clearly showing everybody that, hey, listen, everyone else behind, Cam Ward, y'all just fighting for second and third, but he's our guy. Because you want to continue to have that competition in that room where it's iron sharpens iron. But how does Brian Callahan facilitate this moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a really interesting one because you do want the guys to compete. At the same time, Cam Ward's a starter, period. So, like, I think what I would do is, look, I basically would give, kind of the anointed reps to Cam Ward.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would surprisingly, at various times unannounced, say, all right, well, let's get in there and take this rep. Take him out. And now all of a sudden it's like, you're sprinkling in the opportunity to be there with the ones, to be in the most competitive drill. All of a sudden, like, yeah, like you're in there because like you may end up playing. I expect you to play well. And so, yeah, I expect you to compete. And then when he goes in there, and if he goes in there and does well, that's the iron that sharpens iron for Cam Ward to say, hey, I had that rep last week in practice. It didn't go well. And here comes, my backup came in here and runs that rep and he runs it with success. Like that's how you do it because like no one thinks because it's not true that it's a legitimate competition. It's not, but that doesn't mean that guys can't compete and push one another.
Yeah, you're right about that. And I asked that question because as this is not, 10 years ago where, before they redid the collective bargain, it may have been longer than that, where you spent the majority of your off season at the building, so you were able to get those reps, those mental reps, and those physical reps that you needed to get because we had to be there. Now that it's changed, and it's changed for the better, I get it, but you don't have as much time to spend with your quarterbacks as you used to. So you're trying to fit all this time in, all while trying to develop a quarterback, but not just giving him the job.
Now, listen, Mike McCarthy used to call it QB school. And, he did it various places, and he, developed various quarterbacks. I think that's one of the things that, while, the players union has done a good job of, I guess fighting for more time off for, its members.
Mm-hmm.
I think quarterback development has probably been the thing that has taken the shot the most, because you just don't have the time in the building to, get the mental reps and do stuff. And really, this is going to sound crazy, but like the advancement of technology and even being able to get like virtual reps, which some teams are doing, like you really would be able to develop guys even more, because of the benefit of technology that didn't exist 12, 15 years ago. So, yeah, that's been a challenge. And so, some of it just ends up being, all right, well, like maximize it. How do guys basically, even on their own, get themselves ready? Because look, when they do get an opportunity to play, people are going to expect them to play well. Otherwise, they're going to be drafting another quarterback the next year.
Talking to Tim Hasselbeck, and Tim, we just had a good little philosophical conversation about what should the expectation be for an interior lineman with high expectations like a Jeffrey Simmons on number of sacks. And it's a nuanced discussion, right? Because it's a little different for an interior defensive lineman, but the Titans, I think it's pretty clear, have not had a big year from Jeffrey Simmons since he signed the gargantuan contract. So what's a reasonable sack number, and how would you address that if you're Brian Callahan? Because he pretty much acknowledged they need more.
Yeah, and I would say that, like, I don't know that sacks are the right stat, right? And I say that because, like, sometimes you fall into a sack, sometimes it's the quarterback's, bust that there's a sack. I think that, especially like with an interior guy, I do think that, the metrics that I would be more, interested in in that regard, or like QB pressures or hurries or disruptions or however you do it, to say like, okay, how disruptive have you been there? Like, does it always lead to a negative play with a sack? No, but it might lead to an inaccurate throw, and those types of things. So like, I mean this, I would not get caught up in the sack totals, right? Like the sacks are great, but I would not get caught up in the sack totals. In terms of like the interior pressures, look, I think that, and then depending on how you're grading those, look, I think you need, especially from like an elite, highly paid guy, I think you need at least one interior pressure a game, from like an elite interior player. And so what that means, you just collapse in the pocket, move the quarterback off the spot, whether it means you get a batted ball, whether it means, you get a quarterback hit. I think all of those things are things that I would count, and I think you need at least one a game.
So, meanwhile, in Indianapolis, the injury, an issue now with Anthony Richardson, which is going to keep him on the sideline some, and you've got a newcomer in Daniel Jones. What do you make of that dynamic here? Because this is a pretty big development. They have already had a lot of issues trying to get Anthony Richardson sped up on his developmental track, and this isn't going to help a whole lot.
Yeah, there's no other way to describe, what's going on there than the fact that that's an absolute train wreck. You just think about it from the standpoint of like, this is year 3 for Anthony Richardson. The team acknowledged that they are bringing in starter level competition for Anthony Richardson. To put that in perspective on the timeline, that would be like the Chicago Bears bringing in competition and saying it next year for Caleb Williams. That would be like Jaden Daniels, them saying, yep, we're bringing in legitimate competition and paying a guy such. we're bringing in legitimate competition for Jaden Daniels. So, like, to give you an idea of like how poorly it's gone, for Anthony Richardson, that they're doing it that quickly, like that already is a massive acknowledgement of like, this isn't working. He's not showing us that he can be the guy. So, like, that would be the first thing. And then how I see it playing out, like, Daniel Jones is going to end up being their starter at some point. Anthony Richardson's dealing with injury now. Like, he's doing things that you can't count on him. And so because of that, I don't know that I can say with confidence that he's going to start the season like week 1. But I think before we get through a quarter of the season, Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts.
Wow, bad news for the Colts tends to be good news for the Titans. We'll see if they can take advantage of that. And as we let you go here, Tim, quick answer here. Hendrickson and TJ Watt, two guys who are really good at what they do, seeking new deals here. Is this kind of the position we're looking at now to sort of reset the market with the cap going up?
Well, I think is what's happening. You got elite pass rushers. Both of them are that, right? And those guys, elite pass rushers, are second highest paid players outside of the quarterbacks. They deserve it. But they're also a little bit like running backs. You get north of 30 and a guy wants a long-term deal. You get north of 30 and a guy wants a long-term deal. Now all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, am I going to be paying a guy $40-something million, when he's 34, 35 years old on a long-term deal? Like, that maybe is not what you want to be doing.
Good point. That is always the tough one. Tim, thanks a lot for shuffling your schedule with us and joining us today. And we'll talk to you again here very soon.
Thank you, guys. See you.
Yep.
All right. A quick, efficient meeting there with Tim Hasselbeck because we've got the legend coming on with us. Eddie George, new head coach, did such a great job at TSU. Now he's moved on to Bowling Green. We're going to find out what it's been like as he's made that transition. And so he's going to join us here in just a moment. This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Staley's Chicago Italian Dining, one of Nashville's best-kept secrets and winners of numerous Best of awards. Enjoy authentic Italian beef sandwiches, Vienna Chicago dogs, and the best gyros south of Chicago. Get half off a $20 gift card now while supplies last at theGameNashville.com/deals. That's Staley's Chicago Italian Dining. We're back after this with Eddie George. Back here on DVD, we've got a great action-packed, guest-packed 12 o'clock hour today. Just had a great conversation with Tim Hasselbeck. We had D. Mace's brand new Who Am I? And maybe he'll quiz our next guest on that. And don't forget, DVD, meaning D. Mace, Adam, and Donick, presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I turn it over to Derek Mason to introduce our next guest.
Yes, our next guest, he needs no introduction. He is the head coach of the Bowling Green Falcons, newly head coach of the Bowling Green Falcons. One, Eddie George. I call him Coach. I try to get away from the Eddie because I want to show you so much respect. So I try to when I text you or anything else, other than today I did say EG, but I try to refer to you as Coach. But how you doing, Coach? What's going on this morning?
Derek, man, doing great, man. So good to hear your voice, bro. How you been, man?
Hey, man, I've been good. Just working and enjoying life right about now. But I'm sure my life is nothing like yours. Yours have become increasingly busy now that you've taken over there with the Bowling Green Falcons. Now tell me, because each and every year, Coach, whether it be at TSU when you first took a job, you took on a program that was struggling. In a matter of 3 or 4 years, you got that program at the OVC, winning the share of the title, Coach of the Year. Now you take yourself and a part of your staff there to Bowling Green. What are some of the things you're going to take with you that you learned there at TSU, and now you're moving up and you're taking on this task with a team that did go to a bowl game last year? They finished fourth, tied for third in the conference at 6-2. So what are you taking from those years at TSU that you're going to implement here with the Falcons?
Yeah, great question, brother. Well, first of all, I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be head coach at Bowling Green State University. It came at a time I wasn't expecting it. But you look at it in terms of my timing is not God's timing. So, but I'm still implementing things. It's been 3 months. Still getting my arms wrapped around the entire program, from players, staff, academics, compliance, recruiting, strength and conditioning, equipment, housing, athletic training, compliance, and video, all of that. So before I make any declarations, I like to sit back and understand what's been working, what hasn't been working, what can be increased, get my arms around the budget to see how I can enhance that. Really spent a lot of time, focusing on fundraising efforts for our program, for like NIL, or even enhancing our scholarships. So that's been it. But on the field, in terms of the culture, the first brick laid, Derek, is toughness and discipline. This team, you mentioned, was 6-2 last year. They went to 3 straight bowl games. They're on the cusp of doing some great things, but I had to find out who they are. And the first place I looked was the locker room, and I noticed that the locker room wasn't tight. It wasn't tidy. It was stuff left everywhere. And I said, hey, I was the biggest culprit in our locker room back in the day when my stuff was everywhere. And it took for Bruce Matthews to pull me aside. I said, hey man, nobody's going to listen to you because look at how you present yourself with your locker. You gotta present yourself in a professional way, and your locker speaks volumes of who you are. And I had mail and all kinds of stuff coming out of my locker, man. So I challenge those guys. I said, listen, this is who you are, and this is where we got to start. We got to find those wins right now and enhance the culture. Scott Leffler, the former head coach, who's now the quarterbacks coach with the Eagles, did a great job building this program up for the last 6 years. And this is not a rebuild. This is a retweaking situation. And I'm just putting my thumbprint on it, taking some systems that have been working very well, put my thumbprint on it, and just really taking it each and every day, finding ways to get better each and every day to enhance the entire lifestyle for the student athlete in terms of the total experience they're going to have from the time they wake up for class until they come to this facility, when they leave the facility, and how they operate day to day.
Now, is that the toughest part, especially with now the NIL and the movement these student athletes or athletic students they have? It's a free fall. It seems like, is that the most difficult part when you're setting a culture and a foundation, because there's so many in and out, and you're not getting guys to stay, at a program, stay in college, but let alone at a program for 3 years. I would imagine, Coach, it's a little bit daunting of a task to try to develop your culture when so many guys are coming in and out.
Yeah, it's the challenge there, no question, because of the NIL, and you have players that look for other opportunities. You develop them, and I've experienced that at Tennessee State, where you develop these kids, and other schools come in, they're looking for depth, they're looking for new starters, and they come to pluck your trees. But I've learned that you got to embrace this time, and the NIL. I'm going to invest in my current team. So as I develop these young men, my job is to say, hey, I'm going to reward you to stay and understand, hey, you can get to any level from here. You don't necessarily have to go chase a logo or anything of that nature to feel like, hey, I got to go and down the street to Ohio State, or I got to go to Michigan State to be seen. I mean, you can get it done here. I think you saw that with the kid that was just drafted, Harold Fannin Jr., who tight end. So he went the second and third round to the Cleveland Browns. So, I've embraced it. I'm not shying away from it. I'm finding ways to say, hey, how can I reward the guys that are staying here, increase their value of their scholarship dollars, whether it be the cost of attendance or through NIL opportunities, to where they don't have to want for anything, but feel like, hey, I'm getting a wonderful experience here. I'm being developed here, and I have a chance to play at a high level and get as many reps as I can to make a case to say I can play on Sundays. So that's kind of how I've looked at it and embraced it.
Now, Eddie, before I pass it over to Willie, not only did you change universities, but your son changed as well. He also is a student athlete there at Bowling Green. So how has that experience and that transition been for him? Because listen, the guy, your son, he started to really come on last season, and all of a sudden his dad gets a new job, and now he chooses to go along with you. How has he adapted to the situation?
He's ready to head on, Derek. He relished the opportunity to come up Bowling Green State University. He's first one in the building, last one to leave. I really don't have to say much to him. He's one of our strongest players already on the team. He's working his tail off, and he's just looking for the opportunity to play at a high level. He's just hungry. He told me, he said, "Dad, it doesn't matter what logo's inside of the helmet. I'm gonna go out here and put my best foot forward and work. Do what he's accustomed to doing." So it's been awesome, honestly. To have my family here, to have him here, and this next phase of his life. And I think he sees the opportunities and is going to take advantage of it both on and off the football field.
We're talking to Eddie George. Great hearing his voice. He's the head coach of Bowling Green as he starts to build another program after doing such a great job with Tennessee State the last couple of years. And Eddie, I'm just curious, as you walked in, every school is a little different with the budget and now the NIL, and it's always changing. So I'm curious, when you first got there, when you tried to wrap your arms around, okay, what's my system? How much do I have to work with over here for facilities, for recruiting? And then how much did it tweak, if any, when the House settlement came down the other day?
Well, it's not tweaking too much. We kind of prepared for what the House settlement was going to be. We understand, it's going to be a phase in. From what I understand, it's going to be a phase in from a grandfathering calls and getting the guys that were here stable to kind of phase in that 105 number. So from a budget standpoint, we're constantly fundraising to make sure that our kids don't want for anything. My main things are nutrition and recruiting. And the part of that recruiting is NIL. Again, the NIL is meant to reward the kids that we've recruited in high school, that we've developed, and they don't feel a need to jump in now. There'll be some outliers that we'll have to go and get, like a quarterback or a a defensive end or a defensive tackle that has production, whether it be in an FBS program or FCS program, we're going to have to play that game because that's where the market is. But for the most part, that's kind of where we are. As I've gotten a general understanding of what our budget is, where the holes are, where we need the most development and where we need fundraising attention to, those are the areas. And I think we're in a really good, strong financial position to move forward and to really compete, with the top of the MAC schools in this conference and abroad, to say, hey, our financial plan and the value of our scholarship is on par or better than most of these schools. So that's the goal.
Eddie, there's been a lot of talk about expanding the college football playoff. You got Tennessee State to a playoff with a 16-team format. Are you confident in the next few years that you might see a day while you're still coaching at Bowling Green that the MAC champion could be a part of a 16-team tournament?
Well, that's my goal now. I'm
Yeah.
not worried about the expansion. I think that's the goal right now. I'm not concerning myself with, what ifs, and if we win a MAC championship and if we can play. My goal is to put a product on the field that can't be denied, that opportunity. You look at this team, really this program, it went into Penn State, a place that I played at a couple of times as a player at Ohio State and got thrashed. And, we've been up there my junior year and got beat 63-14. And this team last year took them on head-to-head, a team that finished top 4 in the country and lost by 7 points. And then the following week go down to Texas A&M and lose by 6 points. So the makeup is here. It can be done. Now, it's going to take a special team in this conference to garner that attention to get in the top, sneak in the top 12. But I think it's possible. When you look at these MAC schools, the playing field is pretty much even. There's not like a one or two teams that are head and shoulders above everybody else. I mean, give or take a position here or a key playmaker there, that's when you start to see the difference in this conference. But it's really great coaches here. It's really great players here. There's a good landscape in terms of recruiting. So it's highly competitive.
Eddie, before we let you go, I think I know I've interviewed you enough and heard you interviewed by D Mace enough to know where you're going to stand on this. But I think of you and D Mace, my college experience at Vanderbilt. When you go back to your alma mater, it's easy for you. You know people. You want to go to the sidelines for a game. You're connected. Had you been a player who, let's just call it sort of a modern day player now, you see players play at 2 or 3 different schools over a 5-year period. It would be different, right? It would be very different. You mentioned at the beginning of the interview when D-Mass asked you what you're trying to do at the start. You're trying to establish that your needs could be met at Bowling Green. You're trying to sort of discourage a player from maybe chasing a couple extra $1,000 here and there. Do you think it's hard to sell that? And do you think over time, as the rat race keeps happening here, that players will start to understand that, hey, staying at one spot has huge advantages, even if you don't get a couple extra bucks along the way?
Right. Now, again, it comes down to what these players want. I think a stat came out to where over the last 3 or 4 years, players that have jumped from school to school, I think 17% had an opportunity to go to the next level. Whereas if you stay and get developed, you're I think it's somewhere in the 70 percentile where you have an opportunity to get drafted. And I think we're starting to see that now. My recruiting pitch and what I tell players, I said, listen, it's earned, never given. Everything is earned down to the bands that you wear here. And we're not going to give you anything because in life, you're not going to be given anything. You're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to take it. You're going to have to grind for it. And that's the environment that I create. Now, if you're about that, it's okay. Now, it weeds out some guys in terms of, hey, what are my NIL opportunities? And I said, well, what was your production in college last year? Oh, it was nothing. Oh, well, that's your NIL opportunity. So it's very clear. in terms of what it is. And I said, well, if you come out and you play well and you are all American and that, well, yeah, I'm going to compensate you. I get that. I get where we are, but nothing is ever given. And I think we're starting to see that. And we've had a really strong recruiting period, got a few commitments from the 26 class and really focusing on the 27s. And I think we're really finding out the kids that love ball, that love to compete, and that want to be developed. And if the kids are looking for money, they're going to go find the money, but I don't think they're going to ultimately find the opportunity to play. And I'm not sure if those kids, if their heart is really into loving the game of football. And
that's where I don't think they get it, right? That you can't put a dollar value on a great experience at one place where you have teammates, you have a coaching staff that you've like,
right.
You're going to coach these guys for 4 years. And then when you're 10 years, 20 years down the road, those people are going to reach out to you. You're going to be reaching out to them. It's like you sacrifice so much when you bounce around.
Yeah, and here's the thing. What are we really teaching these kids? Mm-hmm. You know, to run away from adversity. No, you learn so much by going through it, by going through the valleys, by being developed in the crucibles of life. I mean, that's where it is. You know, my toughest moments were my greatest moments. When I fumbled twice against Illinois my freshman year, it was a tough 2 years. And in a place like Ohio State and Michigan State, you know, the schools like that, if you are injured or you're hurt or you make a mistake, the next guy behind you is just as good. So it was every reason. I had every reason to jump into the portal or leave or find a place that was easy. But I chose to stay, dig my cleats in the dirt, work hard, and find a way. And that experience had propelled me to win a Heisman, to have the career I had in the NFL. It gave me the tenacity to forge forward in my life after football. So what's happening is robbing these kids of those moments of growth and really taking on the hard stuff. We embrace it here. I said, listen, our mental toughness is predicated on how we handle adversity. We welcome it. You know, we got to turn and go toward it versus running away from it. And you're going to find out real quick when something doesn't go well, you're not getting the reps that you want to get, or you can't get the number that you want, something, you know, trivial. You're going to find out who is able to withstand it, who's willing to grind for it, and who's not. And that's okay with me. We're finding out, we're separating the wheat from the chaff, and it's not easy.
Now, Coach, before we get you out of here, I just want a quick question about the Tennessee Titans. I know you've been concentrating on getting your program together and whatnot. So I know you may have not seen a lot of what's going on with the Titans, but I'm sure you pay attention to what's you know going on throughout the building. When you look at the Titans and you know the draft picks and the acquisitions that they have made, how do you see this team moving forward? Do you think they're headed in the right direction with the new hires, whether it be GM, you know, coordinators within the coaching staff? Where do you see this team headed this season?
Well, I really like Callahan and what he's trying to establish from a philosophical standpoint. I love the GM. I think that, you know, Amy had to make some really hard decisions in the last 24 months in terms of where she's trying to go. And I think you have to allow for some things to manifest and come to fruition. And it's not going to take, I don't believe in overnight successes. You know, you kind of hit the reset button on who they're going to be. You have to allow that, you know, to grow and to develop and to be cultivated over time through various draft choices and learn the mistakes. So with that said, I think they found the quarterback. Hopefully they found him and see what he's able to do. From what I understand, he's been having a really good camp. He's showing promise there. You know, I heard through somebody on the staff that he called out one of the receivers and, hey man, if you drop another pass, I'm not coming to you. You know, and that's what you love. You know, you love that out of your quarterback. Steve was much like that. You and Steve developed a really great relationship because of the accountability factors that were there, and I could see that in him. And they got to surround him with a lot of weapons. So they have a good running game, good running backs. Up front is going to still be a question in terms of, how that offensive line is going to pair out. And again, I'm not familiar who they drafted in terms of tight ends and who they have on the outside, but it appears that first brick laid was identifying the quarterback of the future, and that's what you got to have.
Well, you know better than anybody else, Coach. If you don't have that quarterback, man, oh man, it's going to be hard.
We know.
Yeah,
Derek.
we know. If you don't have that quarterback, it's tough. And
Yeah.
luckily for us, we had that quarterback in Steve McNair. I hope you have your quarterback there at Bowling Green, and we all hope that the Tennessee Titans have found their quarterback in Cam Ward.
Yeah.
So,
what I need from y'all, I need you to send me an address. I want to send y'all some gear.
oh, no
All right,
doubt,
Derek?
absolutely.
I know you love the green and white. I know you love the green and white. So I'm gonna throw a little orange in the accent for you.
Hey, I would always support a former teammate and a friend, no doubt.
Well,
Unless it's a Michigan guy, I can't put on the maize and blue,
Hey,
no matter what.
Hey, me and you on the same page with that one. That team up north, man. I can't stand them.
Oh man,
Common enemy.
exactly.
Yes,
Well, thank you,
yes.
Coach, for coming on, and best luck to you and your program this upcoming season and that moving forward. So, thank you again for coming on. We
Appreciate you, man.
appreciate it. Yep.
All right,
Not a
let's
problem, brother.
put Eddie on hold, Nick, and I want you to follow up and get the address because Nick is smart too. He knows a good deal when he sees it. We'll see if Nick can score us a little Bowling Green gear. We will sport it with pride.
No doubt. So,
all right. Eddie George, head coach, Bowling Green Falcons. Really curious, D-Mace, how he does with that because remember when he first took the job at TSU, and it was a little bit surprising to a lot of us, right? He could have chosen a lot of different paths with his career. He dove in with the challenge, and I thought did an amazing job at Tennessee State. It built tremendous experiences that I think will serve him well. Now he's full-fledged college football coach.
yeah, man, he started off. What year was that? 21, where he got the job over at TSU. Yeah, in 2021, taking over a program that was struggling somewhat. He took it. They struggled the first year, but he was building something there over at TSU. The next following year, they went 4-7. Then after that, 6-5, 9-4. Again, they made the playoffs, the FCS playoff. He was named Coach of the Year. They were co-winners of the OVC championship. So, I mean, what he did at TSU, hopefully he will be able to duplicate it even more over at Bowling Green in the MAC. So, yeah, he's done a good job. And you just hope that what he's doing this season translating to a lot of wins.
There's just so many people in this area rooting for him. So I'm sure some people listening were like, I couldn't tell you anything about Bowling Green, but now I want Bowling Green to win. We're going to be checking their scores every Saturday and rooting them on for sure.
They're going to be a part of my silly underdogs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. It is right for silly underdog. This is going to be awesome because they'll probably be underdog a few times.
Exactly.
Especially this first year or two, for sure. All right. When we come back, we've got a great topic that D-Mace has authored today, and that is building a team. We want to get your participation, 615-737-1025 on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can't say a quarterback, but if you had one player you had to pick to build a franchise around, who would it be on the Titans, and who would you pick in today's current day NFL? The canvas is wide open, but you cannot pick a quarterback. You can't say Patrick Mahomes. That's too easy. Got to pick a non-quarterback. So we're going to have some fun with that.
Everybody pick Mahomes.
Exactly. You can't do that. It's too easy. All right. So the 1 o'clock hour is coming. You're listening to DVD. D-Mace, Adam Bingen, Willie Donick, presented by Bet365. Wherever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. D-Mace, Fingen, and Donick coming your way. Final hour of the show. We're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick and Derek Mason here with you today. Adam Bingen is out for the rest of the week. He'll be back fresh, ready to go next week. And remember, our phone and text line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're going to activate that line this hour a lot because what we want is your submissions to a question that D-Mace has for you, and that is, if you wanted to start a franchise and build around one player who is a non-quarterback, we're not allowing you to take a quarterback, who would you pick off of the Titans roster, today's Titans roster, and who would you pick from any NFL player? Pretty simple. 615-737-1025. Great interviews in the last hour. We had Tim Hasselbeck. We had Eddie George. And I'll tell you what, D-Mace, I love talking football issues with those two guys. I learn something every week. And, man, catching up with Eddie was awesome. The crucibles of life. I think we need to have sweatshirts that have the crucibles of life on the back of it. I love that term.
Yes, it's because those two. One reason, it's so good to have, Tim or Eddie on, and we have Tim on every week, but because both of them can give us a perspective of a player, but then also a coach, because even though, listen, Tim is a coach. Yes, a coach at the high school level, but he still have to deal with some of the same issues that Eddie is dealing with now because of NIL and all this other stuff. So the problems that Eddie are dealing with, you got to deal with them before, because you are the coach that are sending these players to head coaches like Eddie George. So it's good always to talk with them because they give you different perspective, not just one of someone that played, but someone that has coached, and then in Tim's situation, someone from a media standpoint as well. So he can give it to you from three different angles.
Got a text on our text line. Josh says, D-Mace, what would you do if one of your kiddos or relatives wanted to be a Wolverine? LOL.
Man,
if you missed the interview with Eddie George, they were commiserating against the common enemy of Michigan.
I would never, ever wear any paraphernalia, nothing that says not one bit. Man, it'd be hard to write out. Man, gosh, we would have to think about that before they even thought about going on a visit. I don't know if I could have went on a visit with them. That's how much I dislike Michigan. So there you go.
All right.
His mom would have went with him, not me.
Not even getting a sandwich at the lunch hall?
Oh, hell no. Not going on Ann Arbor's campus, man. Stay son. No, I've been on that campus twice. And you know when that was? When I was playing. Okay, well, more than that, because in high school I went a few times to run track, but that was something different. I didn't have the hatred toward U of M back then.
Didn't have your allegiance yet.
Yeah. My allegiance is green and white, Willie. So there you go.
I hear you. I knew that. All right, let's get to your question, D-Mace. Why don't we start with the Titans? The current Titans roster, you got to pick one guy that you would build the team around. And we know the pickings are meager right now. It's a thin roster. We get that. But you got to start from scratch. Who would you start with?
And what makes this so difficult is the Titans, as we have been discussing for months, their roster is depleted. They don't have, the bottom of the roster is not heavy. And in order to me to be a good team consistently year after year, I think the bottom of your roster needs to complement the top of your roster. It doesn't need to be as good, but it needs to complement the top of your roster. And right now, the Titans' whole roster doesn't complement one another. They got some good players, but they need some more. So with that being said, my first pick would be, I'm being strategic in this, people. So don't say, oh, what are you thinking? Because I'm being strategic. I am starting.
There are no wrong answers.
Yes, I am starting my my organization, my team, my franchise today with current Titans, and that Titan would be the big fella in the middle, Tavondre Sweat. That's who I would start off my team with. Again, it's strategic, people. I know you're looking at it and said Jeffrey Simmons and some of these other guys, Pollard, but these guys been in the NFL 7, 8 years. They're on their second contract. They're looking for a third contract. I want a guy that's hungry, that's young, and that's looking for that contract. I want Big Sweat. He fits what I want to do up front and how I want to start my team. So, Willie, the first pick in this year's restarting of a franchise, I am going with Tavondre Sweat out of the University of Texas. Your pick.
You took mine. I honestly,
you could. I mean, do you want to be able to go? Because the fans, they can go across the board. They can pick.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
they
we
can
already
pick the
have
same player.
Jared from Spring Hill is already now. He has gone with the meatloaf, Tavondre Sweat. I think he, I only labored between him and Latham because I do believe Latham is another guy that's worthy. So just to be different, I guess I'll go with Latham. But to me, it's one of the two. Those are the two guys that I think play important enough positions that you need those guys and you're confident they're moving in the right direction. So I will go with Latham. All right. So Nick Frazier, who do you have? Do you have somebody different, or is it one of those two? I'm trying to think of any other worthy category.
Yeah, it's tough.
Worthy people.
I don't know. Like, I want to take somebody on the defensive side of the ball because, defense wins championships. I mean, already Tavondre Sweat's been mentioned. It's tough. I don't know. It's maybe, I'll go with the edge rusher. I'll take a gamble. I'll take the edge rusher that they just drafted out of UCLA.
Wow. Sight unseen.
Yes. I'm just going right at it. Like you guys are talking about, you're building a franchise from scratch. Probably not the best start, but I'll go with that.
Boy, it would really be good if he ends up being worthy of that discussion. All right, so D-Mace, let's move on to around the league. Who is the ideal non-quarterback to build your franchise around today?
Again, ideal non-quarterback, people. Again, I'm trying to be strategic. Now, there's a bunch of guys out there that fits what the criteria that I told you where I'm picking from. Young, hungry, wants that second contract, but also I know I'm having him on my roster at least 4 to 5 years. And if he's great, maybe even longer than that. He may retire, a Derek Mason. I can't say Tennessee Titans, so a Derek Mason. So he may retire a Derek Mason. So I am going with, and this may be out of the box here, I am going with former Ohio State Buckeye tackle Paris Johnson Jr. I'm going with the tackle 6'6", 313, one of the best tackles in the National Football League to date. He's young, he's vicious, he's hungry, and he's gonna protect the blind side of my rookie quarterback. So I'm taking him. I'm saying it's a rookie quarterback. I'm not saying it's Cam Ward. I'm just saying it's a rookie quarterback, period. But I am taking Paris Johnson to block the blind side for my quarterback. Willie, you're up.
Paris Johnson. Interesting. I did consider an offensive lineman, but and I guess we haven't. We're this is two different teams, right?
Yes.
We're not putting these two guys
No.
together, right? We're building two different teams. So it'd be nice to pair, one guy with another. So because you just referred to a rookie quarterback. Not every team is going to have a rookie quarterback, but if
I'm
you're
just
building
saying,
from
like
scratch,
my team, yeah,
you're probably going to have to be building and developing a quarterback, which we can't pick here.
Exactly.
So with that in mind, look, he's still young enough that I'm going to select this guy. But I'm going to take Jamar Chase.
Okay.
I'm going to build around him. He's still young enough, and he is 25, and so I think he's going to be playing for a while. I think he changes your team instantly. He's a little younger than Justin Jefferson. You're splitting hairs between these two, and that's why I take the younger guy. So that foundational piece, that edge rusher, that left tackle. It's tempting to take one of those guys, but in the modern NFL game, I think having that super dynamic top of the top wide receiver at a young age is what I would take. So I'm taking Jamar Chase.
I mean, listen, there's no wrong answer in this. It just depends on how you want to build your franchise. You chose to go interior, and then on the outside, I'm choosing to build from the inside out.
I'm
Nick,
building in the trenches, baby. Yeah, hey, get on, all fours. I'm building in the trenches. All right. I'm going with left tackle as well. And I was thinking about this, D Mace is brought in from scratch, building with the age. I'm going with Joe Alt. I was torn between Joe Alt and Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers, generational tight end. Give me Joe Alt because that's going to solidify the backside of the quarterback.
Not a bad pick.
Interesting that we're going into the offensive line so often. I went skill position. We've already got some people on the text live weighing in. We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can call or text 615-737-1025. Building a team around a non-quarterback. You got to pick one player, one from the Titans and one from the current day NFL. 615-737-1025.
Okay, Willie, can I throw this caveat in there? Because
absolutely.
I think this would better help this would better help our listeners pick their team. And this is just a new wrinkle here. Your franchise is the Tennessee Titans, but not this current Tennessee Titans, but you get to pick a player from this current Tennessee Titans if you were starting the franchise over again. So here's the little wrinkle. Cam Ward is your quarterback. That's the wrinkle.
Okay.
Cam Ward is your quarterback, so you don't have to pick a quarterback. Cam Ward is your quarterback. Outside of that, you get to pick your team. So, Willie, you would have Cam Ward throwing it to Jamar Chase, right?
I guess you're making up the category.
No. But what I'm saying is, I'm just going to add that wrinkle in there.
For both. Okay,
for everybody. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So you have Cam Ward as your quarterback. So that makes sense because I would stay with the same answer. I'll take Latham because I've got a young guy who I think is still a long, long way from his potential, and I think he's got the right makeup that he will get there. So I'll take Latham to protect Ward. And then on the other team of around the league, I'm taking Jamar Chase, an established guy who's still young. Yeah, he's expensive, but now at least I know what he's going to be costing. And I think he's worth it. Top of the top wide receiver who's still 25.
I like that. So with that new wrinkle,
I like my team.
With that new wrinkle, Nick, you still
like where
good?
I'm going.
You're still good with who you pick?
Other guys.
Offensively, I'm still good. I just want to scratch my defensive pick. Now, with that being said, I got to go with the wide receiver. I mean, knowing you have a Cam Ward as your quarterback, I've solidified the backside with Joe Alt. Give me, this is tough for wide receiver. Willie's taking Jamar Chase. I'll take Nico Collins out of Houston.
Oh, wow. Over Jefferson?
Over Jefferson.
Wait a minute, how many? You're taking two non-Titans.
No.
Now he's breaking the rules.
Oh, I am breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Oops, my bad. Forgot to
slide that.
I jumped the gun a little bit.
I'm still listening. I'm still hearing you, Willie, say Latham, so I thought he had Latham, so I'm still thinking.
I had Oladejo. Yeah,
Oladejo.
Yeah, this is tough. Since I was going to break the rules there, I'll just stick with my pick. I'll stick with it.
He'll stick with Oladejo. There we go.
Sorry, I got excited about a wide receiver in Cam Ward. Sorry.
So, people, to go over the rules again, the quarterback is picked for you. This is a new wrinkle. The quarterback is already picked for you. He is one Cam Ward. You are starting the Tennessee Titans franchise over again. You have to pick a current Titan and the field in starting your team. I chose to go with Paris Johnson and Big Sweat. Willie chose to go with Chase and Latham. And
Chase
Nick,
McCabe, Chase.
Jamar Chase. If you was going with Chase McCabe, I would have fired you.
Our team wouldn't be very good.
And Nick, you're going with Nico Collins.
No. Joe Alt, tackle,
and then Oladejo.
Yep.
Oladejo. So, people, callers, texters, who would you start your franchise off with? Your quarterback is Cam Ward. You need a current Titan and a current guy from any other NFL team, not a quarterback, because we already got you one.
615-737-1025. Jared from Spring Hill says he would take Sweat. Sweat may be the best player on the defense. He may pass Simmons on production this season, and I hope he does. Need him to be big and disruptive. And he said, especially if we are building a team, give me some pillars of young production and contracts. So for the league, he takes Brock Bowers. I've seen multiple Brock. Skyler also goes with Brock Bowers as his one guy around the league. What do you think of that one, D. Mace?
No, I think it is. Jared and I talked about this last year, and Jared was high on Brock Bowers and suggested that, if the Tennessee Titans had an opportunity, that they draft him. I was high on Brock Bowers as well, but I wasn't wanting the Titans to draft him per se because I knew they needed somebody on that offensive line. But watching Brock Bowers play, I thought Brock Bowers was the best tight end coming out of college 2 years ago, last year. And he's one of those guys that, you don't see too often come out. I'm not going to say the G word, but you don't see too often come out of the world of college football. And he has been all of that and some for the Vegas Raiders. So I like that pick. He's a matchup problem. You can play him inside. You can play him outside. Now, I don't know how well he is in the run game because I haven't watched him that closely.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting that
he's a matchup problem.
Everybody's going with a guy that's really, really young. We have a Malik Neighbors as well on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We also have this observation from another texter. The Titans are so bad, it's a shame there's no good answer. Well, that's part of the challenge of your exercise.
Exactly.
Make do with what you have here. Xavier Woods, another nominee. So we want more of them. 615-737-1025. We'll let you ponder, call, or text, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and we'll take more of your suggestions. Players that you would build a franchise around, knowing that Cam Ward is your Titan and one non-Titan. We have this from John Glennon from Jeffrey Simmons. So he has joined the weight loss club, apparently. Jeffrey Simmons said he's dropped weight in the offseason, now down to about 301, hopes to stay around there during the season, wants to lower stress on his body after weighing about 315 last year. So like J.C. Latham, Jeffrey Simmons thinks he'll be better off with a few less pounds. Interesting stuff. All right, when we come back, we'll take your phones, we'll take your calls, we'll take your texts on building a franchise. And then later, Jared Stillman will join us to wrap up the show. You're listening to DVD here on 102.5 The Game.
Back at you here on DVD 1025 The Game. D. Mace Vingen and Donick. Yes, I heard that you received a little text, Nick.
I did.
From one old Stillman. And I said, people, listen, I told everyone, there's no wrong answers in this because we're starting the franchise off from scratch, the Tennessee Titans. We got our quarterback. And there's really no, wrong answer in this because you're going to pick a good player no matter what. Some people choose to go young. Some people choose to go older. Some people choose to, pick a guy that they believe is on the come up. Someone may want to pick a guy that has already established themselves. I get it. There's no wrong answer. But apparently, Stillman think there's some wrong answers.
I don't understand how that's a wrong answer, but I mean,
exactly.
All right, let's hear the text.
So basically, Stillman is really getting on Nick and I because Nick chose
Nico
Collins,
Collins, but it was supposed to be Joe Alt. And
Yeah.
when you said
Joe
Cam
Alt.
Ward, I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Exactly. His original pick was Joe Alt. Then he said Nico Collins, or was it Nico Collins, then Joe Alt?
And it was Joe Alt. Nico Collins went back to Joe Alt.
Oh, it went back
because
to
I
Joe.
found out I was breaking the rules. So
Yes.
sorry.
So he went back to Joe Alt. So there's no wrong answer to this. But obviously, Jarrett believes that me picking Paris Johnson and Nick
At the time,
picking Nico Collins was a problem. He said there's other guys out there, and he's right. There's other guys. TJ Watt is a guy that's out there. The kid, Micah Parsons is out there. Jefferson is out there. There are a bunch of guys out there. But as a GM, which I am, of the newly formed Tennessee Titans, I chose to go with a left tackle that I do believe will be my starter for 10 years. 10 years. Ask a team that has had a starting left tackle for 10 years how that feels. That feels great. And I'm going with the big fella in the middle. So there's no wrong answers in this, but obviously Stillman believes there is.
Okay, does he have an answer? Did he give, or maybe we'll get his
Did
answer
he give his
at
answer, Nick?
1:45?
Or we'll just ask him once we bring him on. Yeah, we'll
I don't
ask
think
him.
he's going to give his answer
I think
now.
we'll ask him once we bring him on. So people call in, text in 615-737-1025. Let us know how you will start your Tennessee Titans franchise, knowing that you already have Cam Ward at quarterback.
Okay, let's look at what we've got so far on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And Nick, you let me know if we've got a phone caller or two. We had Xavier Woods as a nominee for the Titans. Tell me, this is again hopeful, right? Because we don't know what this guy's going to do yet. I think potentially it could be it. That would be huge if that ends up being just like Nick's answer of man, I can't. I've already. I don't have his name memorized yet. No, the edge rusher, the second round pick from UCLA.
Femi Oladipo.
Yes,
I believe.
Femi Oladipo.
Yes, that's how you pronounce
Femi,
it.
that's got a
I
Hemi
mean,
in
this
it.
would all be great. This shows you how thin the roster is. You're picking guys that have never played as guys you would build around. How do we know these guys are worthy of building around yet? At least Sweat and Latham have a year under their belt. So let's see. One texter says D-Mace. He would build his team around D-Mace. D-Mace is not on.
Yeah, I'm not a current Titans team. Yeah. So I mean,
okay.
Hey, if you want to, go ahead. But nah.
Okay, we got another nominee for Penei Sewell, which is a good one. And
yes,
like Latham, they are playing him at right tackle, but he's very, very young, and he's a stud. I considered Sewell.
Okay.
I looked at the list. I considered going with him.
I consider Penei Sewell as well, but I'm thinking about the left tackle position and how critical it is for your quarterback. So I went with Paris Johnson Jr., who plays now for the Arizona Cardinals out of Ohio State. So that's why I chose to go that route.
Darius texts in and says he wants T'Vondre Sweat and he wants Malik Neighbors. So that's a second vote for Malik Neighbors. I really like Neighbors, but if it's me, why not take the guy that you know is awesome, right? I think Neighbors, you can say he's on a great track, but I'll pay the extra price to take Chase, who's still pretty young and has a lot of football ahead of him. And I know he's a stud. I know he's a superstar. Neighbors is on the way up. So I get it for Neighbors, but I'm just going to go ahead and take the sure thing.
Yeah, it's starting. I'm starting to see a trend here when it comes to Titan players. Big Sweat seems to be the favorite as of now, and I wonder, will it continue? A guy that you would build your franchise around, and I wonder if that's any slight to Jeffrey Simmons and his production or lack of production last season in regards to numbers, sacks. We heard Brian Callahan mention that in his interview today. He wants Jeffrey Simmons to get more sacks. I think I'm wondering if people are looking at that, because this has been a big thing this past season with, can Jeffrey get more sacks? Can Jeffrey get more sacks? People are looking at it from the standpoint of, well, if Jeffrey's not going to get us the sacks, then I'd rather have T'Vondre Sweat. That's younger. It seems like he's going to elevate himself to, one of the top two, slots in regards to interior linemen, the best in the NFL. It seems like he's trending that way. So people are tending, it seems right now, to go more so T'Vondre Sweat rather than Jeffrey Simmons. I wonder if that will continue.
Well, I think this all comes to, if you're building a franchise, I think you have to be aware that it's going to take you a while to build it. And so you want somebody that's going to be around for a long time. So that sort of takes away. There's one texter that has gone with TJ Watt. Now, Watt is a little older, so that's why I shied away from players like him, established superstars that are a little bit older, just because I'm more of in a building mode. So that's why I split the difference and went with Chase, who's 25, because I feel like I got 5 good years with him. I don't know exactly off the top of my head. Let's see how old TJ Watt is. But that's why I shied away from him. TJ Watt is 30. So like TJ Watt is, he's at the edge of his prime at best, right?
Yeah, and he's dealt with, his share of injuries. So how long can he hold up? Once you've built your franchise with him being a core pillar of that franchise, how long will he then hold up? That's why I'm choosing to pick the guys that I pick. One, that they are one of the tops at their position, but then two, they're young and they don't have that history of nagging in and out injuries. And TJ Watt has had them at least last season and the year before that.
Texter text in, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Is it against the rules to pick one of the best coaches in NFL history in Andy Reid? The best thing for a young quarterback is a great coach that can develop him. Interesting twist.
Yeah, but I'm not going to put that into the rule, okay? I'm not going to put that in the rule, because everybody would want, Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, guys like that have won Super Bowls and is still at the height, still at the height of the game. But that's easy. That's easy.
Yes. Texter, good try, but Professor Derek Mason, who was the author of this question, he makes the rules. He says no, you cannot take a coach.
Yeah.
But it was worth a shot. Mutt on our text line says Myles Garrett and Xavier Restrepo just to aggravate Jared. And Austin right behind him also.
Oh my goodness.
Xavier Restrepo. Okay. One player to build around. You've got Cam Ward, and 2 players have, I think, sarcastically taken Xavier Restrepo, who's going to get more ink and more acknowledgement than any non-drafted free agent probably in league history. At least when it comes to the Titans.
And people see, to me, there's no wrong. outside of Xavier Restrepo. But there's really not a wrong answer because going Myles Garrett isn't bad at all. But I'm just looking at it from a youth standpoint and how long can Myles Garrett sustain the play that he's at now. History tells me that he will start to decline, especially at DN. He will start to decline. And I'm not saying he's going to fall off the map, but I'm talking about, having, him for 3 years or Paris Johnson in Sweat for 7, 8, right now.
Yeah.
So
Steven on our text line says Devondre Sweat for the Titans. His non-Titan is Danielle Hunter with Houston.
Danielle Hunter, yeah.
Danielle, he's 30. He's like TJ Watt. He's dominant. But how long am I going to have him? That's I think why I would shy away from that. But a lot of people have gone with that, so that's fine.
Who we got?
One guy says the kid from the Dolphins, A-Chain.
Yeah,
that's
the
an
running back.
One that I didn't think I would hear. The running back, yeah, I didn't think I would hear that name.
That's
today.
a lot of speed, but so he picked
And
A.
then we have a second. We have another movement that wants to back up the guy who said Andy Reid and say, forget about these players. Give me Andy Reid and them Nuggies. We've been spared with that commercial for a while now. Is it probably coming back? Yes. He said that guy could coach a paper bag to the Super Bowl.
Explain it again with those Nuggies.
No, people, we are not adding head coaches because then it's going to be GMs and then it's going to be owners, okay? No, we're stopping it at the quarterback. That's it, okay? We've given you a quarterback. Now you get 2 other players, one from the Titans and one from the field.
Okay, Joey says Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa. No?
I'm not saying he's just dealt with his injuries.
These are other guys. It's also
older
injuries. Older. I'm not building around guys who are have already played in the league for that long, and are.
But he's a damn good player. He's a damn good player. So I can't say it's a bad pick. But I'm just looking at it from my standpoint. It's like I want a guy that's going to be with me for a while.
Okay, we had clarification. Hunter. The texter said Hunter. I assumed it was Danielle Hunter. Or am I saying that right? Is it
Danielle
Hunter? He meant Travis Hunter. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is interesting. You haven't seen him play, but hey, if you want to start your organization, your franchise, then hey, it's not there's nothing wrong with it.
You look at it as a BOGO deal. I mean, you get them on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Again, people, you may want to think about that because not only do you get 3 players essentially.
He's cheating your system, dude.
Yeah, you're cheating the system. I like it. You circumventing the system. You found a loophole in the system already. There you go.
I still will believe that when I see it, that he could dominate on both sides of the ball for more than a certain amount. Like I'm building a franchise around him, okay, but how long is it take me to build around him, and how long is he really going to be able to play on both sides? I don't know. Matthew texts in Sam Laporta. Okay. And Chris Boswell, Steelers kicker. Not sure where that's coming from.
Hey, kickers, what I have come to find out and realize, kickers have lives too. They're players too. As much as I dislike them.
But we don't build around the kicker.
Yeah, but we don't build around. But if you want to, all right, because you must know that your offense ain't going to be good. So you need some.
Well, he's taking 2 non-Titans, so he's already breaking the rules. But
exactly.
Sam Laporta, nice player. I don't know if he's just had him on his fantasy team and that was a key to great success. I don't know.
Yeah, but again, there's no wrong answers. It's just how you choose to build your franchise with Cam Ward as your quarterback. So
yeah, Matthew backs up with the second text saying kickers deserve love.
Yes,
kickers deserve love.
They deserve love. Yes.
And now we have Dylan saying Morgan Cox and Ryan Stonehouse. Okay, all right, enough. I think we're now going off the rails.
Yes.
I'll say this for an exception, D-Mace, if this was possible. If I did not have to pick a Titans player, I'd go with Aiden Hutchinson as the defensive end, along with Joe Alt. I think I'd be a good starter.
Yeah, I'm just scared.
But I'm still playing with the rules.
Yeah, I'm just scared that Aiden has come off an injury. So Is he the same Aiden Hutchinson that he was prior to the injury? I don't
Okay,
know.
we'll get Jared in on this discussion as we go in our last week. But I am surprised that enough people went with edge rushers who are close to or right around 30 years of age. I would not do that building a team. But we've had some interesting votes here. We'll see. Apparently, Jared really has a bone to pick with you guys. I guess I've avoided the wrath of Jared today, but we'll find out what he's got up his sleeve for his show. And go ahead.
But Willie, it's crazy how not only they're going to be, I'm sure, because we'll probably bring it back up tomorrow. I'm sure there'll be more people picking Jeffrey Simmons, but no one's really picked anybody outside of J.C. Latham. Me on the offense. On the
Sweat
offense.
and Latham are really the two, other than rookies, which I think are a big stretch. How can you pick a guy who hasn't played yet? I don't get that. But the pickings, it's slim pickings.
Yes.
No question about it.
Yes.
All right. 615-737-1025 if you want a last-minute vote in here. When we come back, we will talk to Jared Stillman. We'll transition into Stillman and company. The Titans have been on the field today. They're doing the OTAs. Jeffrey Simmons was there. He's dropping some weight. We'll get Jared's thoughts on that and a host of other things. Stay tuned. We're coming back for the final segment here on DVD 1025 The Game. Hey, if you're maxed out on credit cards or struggling with high interest debt, paid off in just a few days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Without touching your low rate first mortgage, you can get this done. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. It's the Rapid Equity Loan Program at Loan Pronto. One client recently with Loan Pronto, they took out $300,000 from their home's equity. It was approved in under 24 hours. They paid off their debt. So they got rid of the credit card bill, paid off a car loan. They renovated their kitchen, and they cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. Now, that sounds like a pretty good financial plan. Instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Just call Loan Pronto right now, 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Get debt relief now. Loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
just living the dream.
We get some
I
meatloaf?
love that. You know what? I will have some meatloaf. Let's have some meatloaf.
You want some? I knew you'd go. Hey, Mom! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf! Mom, the meatloaf!
There's no wrong answer, but apparently Stillman think there's some wrong answers.
Goodness gracious. We're back here for the final segment of DVD. And Derek's topic has gotten a really good response on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let me also tell you real quick before we get to Jared that you want to tune into ESPN 94.9, The Fan, tonight as the Sounds take on Norfolk. Pregame begins at 5:20 and the first pitch is at 5:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Sounds Baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. So Derek's topic was building around Cam Ward. You get one Titan and one non-Titan. Can't take a quarterback, but players from around the league. Who would you pick? One player to build around. And so we had a Titan. It's the slim pickings. That's the challenge there. And then who do you pick from all the people around the league? So Jared has been listening to some of this apparently, and he didn't really like what D. Mace or Nick Frazier had to say. So Jared, tell us about that.
Well, I mean, again, we're talking about every player in the league who's not a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Willie took Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is a first-team All-Pro at a premium position. There is nothing you can knock about Jamar Chase. He's not hurt. He's not old. He's not injured. You know, he's a solid pick, Willie Donick. Derek took Paris Johnson Jr.,
Yes.
the left tackle of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes.
And Nick
what's the
Frazier took Nico Collins.
Is it a crime?
Over Justin Jefferson?
Okay.
Over Jamar Chase like Willie did? I mean, Paris Johnson is not – I mean, we're talking about all pros. You can take any all pro out there. You know, and you guys are taking Paris Johnson and Nico Collins?
No. Again, yes, I am taking Paris Johnson. Nico. Nick will say what he needs to say about Nick on Paris.
So you think that one? You think?
I think
Paris,
you really
think
wanted.
the Nico Collins
no. Tell me what?
We're not talking about Micah Parsons.
No. Again,
we're not talking
Okay,
about Patrick Surtain the second, the reigning defensive player of the year in the NFL.
I can go get me a defensive back. I ain't worried about that. We have seen in this league, and you've complained about it for the last 4 years, probably longer than that. Okay, you've complained about, and we've all complained about the left tackle since Taylor Lewan has retired. So you're telling me not having it's okay to pass up the left tackle? That's what you're saying? Because are you telling me Paris Johnson is a bad person?
If I'm going to take a left tackle, go take a good one.
So he's not a good left tackle. Every other left tackle was in the league. You got to understand how I'm building my team. Paris
Johnson you're building it stupidly. I've been following. I was in the car listening to that.
Paris Johnson is second year going on his third year in the league. He's one of the best. He's a top 10 tackle in this league. Okay. And he's a guy that hasn't had to deal with a bunch of injuries. Yes, I know he missed, 2 or 3 games last season, just like Jamar Chase. But he is a pillar for an offense, for a team that I hope will be good for the next 10 years. And I'm building him. Ask every team in the NFL, if they've had a left tackle for 10 years, how much more easy that is for them. Moving forward.
So take Jordan Mailata or take Tristan Wirfs
again,
or take Rashawn Slater.
Again,
take one of those guys who is better than Paris Johnson. Jordan Mailata
I am picking a young guy.
Team All-Pro left tackle.
I get that, but I am picking a young guy. Again, there's no wrong answers in this.
Yes, there is.
My guy is a top.
Is the wrong answer.
Oh yeah, obviously, Nicholas Petit Frere is a wrong answer. But when you're talking about a guy that is a young guy that is one of the best left tackles, young left tackles, not just overall, but one of the best young left tackles in the league that I know will be on my team for the next 10 years. Why wouldn't I take him?
Again, define best young tackle, because I would argue that Tristan Wirfs, who was taken a couple drafts after Paris Johnson, is a better player.
You think he's a better player?
Everybody thinks he's a better player. Tristan Wirfs is an All-Pro.
Again, Is my team bad with Paris Johnson as left tackle?
No, but
Okay,
again,
then that's all. That's all.
Player.
He's going into his third year. He's going into his third year.
Crown winner at wide receiver.
Exactly.
Like again, that is the kind of player you take in this. Micah Parsons is the kind of player that you take in this exercise. You don't take Paris Johnson and Nico Collins.
I'm not worried about Nico Collins. I am taking Paris Johnson.
Because you think Frazier's crazy.
No, I don't.
I need to clarify something real quick, Jared. So in his statement that he made, he said you pick somebody from one side of the NFL and the other side is a Titan, right? So I go pick Femi Oladejo as the first pick. Second pick, I went with Joe Alt. I thought that was a solid pick because he's a young left tackle, next left tackle for the next 10 years for my franchise.
He's actually a right tackle, but yes.
Well,
they'll move him over to the left tackle more than likely.
And see, I think that's part of the discussion is, would you take a right tackle? Penei Sewell came up, but offensive lineman versus other position, that's a big part philosophically. I'm with you, Jared. You got to take somebody that's young that's going to be around for a while, and why not take the best, even if they're on their second contract? That's how I figured. So, Jared, before we let you go, who would you take from the Titans?
Boy, that was, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Listening to that, it was depressing. I mean,
it was. And that's why I posed the question.
I am about to open the show banging on Simmons because of his answer for where he was truly appalling. Which again is par for the course when it's Jeffrey Simmons. So again, tune in if you want to hear what Jeffrey Simmons' answer was as to where in the hell he's been. Again, as I said, I think it's truly appalling. That will start the Stillman and Company program today at 2:00. Again, Tavondre Sweat bothers me because he doesn't play a premium position. He doesn't do premium things, but there isn't really anybody who's good who plays a premium position and does premium things. So I guess I would go with Simmons, even though he drives me crazy and I can't stand him and he doesn't sack the quarterback enough. I mean, on defense, I think the defense has two good
Simmons
players.
over Latham based on age and et cetera?
Yeah, I think I probably would. I'm not the biggest Latham fan in the world. I think he'll be an okay right tackle, but I'm not the biggest Latham guy in the world. I mean, I was thinking about it today.
See, age has a lot to do with it for me.
Sure.
A guy that's 22, 23 is different. Like Jeffrey Simmons he's at the back nine of his prime, right? How long?
Yeah,
I'm hoping to get 1 or 2 more really good years out of him. I'm trying to build.
So
you may get 2 years.
Again,
I honestly didn't.
I thought about
Simmons.
this when it comes to pass rusher because I think that if I had to start my team with somebody around the league, it would have been probably one of the TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa. Like it would have been one of those impact pass rushers maybe, or Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Brock Bowers, I heard. But at the same time, it's like, do I want to take a guy because he's 23, 24, but Tavondre Sweat will never sack the quarterback? Or do I want to take a guy like Latham, who's a right tackle, but he might not be a very good right tackle just because he's younger than a guy like Simmons or Hooker, who's actually a solid NFL player? But it really, to me, highlighted just how freaking bad the Titans are.
Yeah, and
that was the embarrassing.
And I think that was the premise of the exercise, was to show you how inept the Titans roster truly is from top to bottom. I don't think the bottom of their roster complements, the few, impact players or close to impact players that the Titans have. And that's why they're going to continue. That's why they have struggled, and hopefully they'll get better because they are trying to bring in that depth underneath those starters. So,
it's crazy. It might be Dan Moore.
Who?
It might be Dan
No
Moore.
way.
Wow.
Well,
I hope we say that at the end of the season.
I hope it ends up to being that at the end of the season.
Dan
yes.
Moore is a starting left tackle on a playoff team because they've made the playoffs 3 years and he started every game over 4 years. Like he is the starting left tackle on a team that makes the playoffs. I don't know if I can say he's 26 years old. I don't know if I can say that about everybody else.
I have a dream that the same 5 offensive linemen are back next year for the Titans, that they want
like
the same 5.
72 years old.
I thought
even though he's
about
actually
some of the
my
offensive
age at
linemen.
35.
Some guys can actually play a little bit longer. We'll see. I that's my dream. I'm
Paris
sticking to it.
Johnson Jr.
You damn right. I picked Paris Johnson
Collins
Jr.
over Justin Jefferson.
Standing by it.
All right, you guys will have to.
You pick Watt injury prone and the rest of them. Go ahead, you can have them.
Yeah, the good players.
Injury
Take
prone.
it outside,
Aren't you the
gentlemen.
same person that talks about injuries, Jared?
Make sure you give them a walking cane for Christmas.
Exactly.
All right, we're out of here for DVD today. Stillman and Company is coming up next. We're back with you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, wonderful Tuesday. Peace.